Classes in session, hitting the books, college football show Monday, October 27th. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack with you, and we are all set for another week of college football. Week 10, we've hit the double-digit mark as far as the college football weekly calendar is concerned. Week 10 of the season on its way. It was another entertaining weekend of college football, and another coach shown the door. Of course, that was the headline story in college football yesterday. Brian Kelly out at LSU. It was already a season that was teetering on the brink of disappointment. And then Saturday night happened against Texas A&M, and it just took that disappointment level to a totally different stratosphere. That was ugly. That was hideous. Both sides of the football blown off the field in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night by Texas A&M, and that was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back as far as Brian Kelly remaining as head coach at LSU is concerned. LSU starting over. I mean, it was never a tenure for Brian Kelly that went well at any point. There were some little flashes, Jaden Daniels when he was there years ago and the way the offense played, but even then their defense stunk. Their defense, we've been waiting for it to get better. They've shown little bits and pieces of their game here and there where we've seen some defensive improvement, but this year it was a team that was marred by offensive shortcomings. Garrett Nussmeier not even close to living up to the Heisman Trophy hype of prior to the season. I find there's not a ton of great playmakers in this offense the way we've seen it in the past. And then the defense at times has looked okay, but again, Saturday night against A&M, back to the old familiar LSU defense. Can't stop the run, can't stop the mobile quarterback. Breakdowns galore as far as against the pass as well. And Brian Kelly out at LSU, and he's not. Don't shed any tears for this guy because he's getting paid what I've read was $1,100 per hour, $26,000 per day is what this guy is going to be making with the buyout that LSU is spending to get him the hell out of town.
It's crazy.
It's over for Brian Kelly, C-Mac.
I gotta just think. I mean, they just have so much money now. But it's like you got to really think who you want to coach your team and the amount of money, especially if you're not going to be good and you're willing to just buy them and kick them to the curb to pay them that much money. But hey, that's just they have so much money. Maybe it doesn't bother them. That's a whole lot of money for a guy you think is going to be there another whatever. What was left? 7 years or something? I don't even know what was left on that.
It was a good amount of years still.
It was a good amount of years still left. So, but yeah, horrible second half, which everything's going wrong with LSU, and I'm glad I haven't bet them.
No, I had the over in that game, nice and easy, thanks to.
There you go. Second half was just easy.
No doubt. Let me just see what that contract indeed was. Let me just see. It was a big move as far as the salary too. Yeah. Big $9 million per year. Got more than tripled what he was making, before at Notre Dame. So, like I said, like I said, big, and that's why this buyout's going to be big. And like I said, $150 million in payouts over the last 5 years. Yeah, just insanity. Yeah, he's going to be. Like I said, don't shed any tears for this man. He's going to be a very wealthy, rich man coming out of this, Brian Kelly, and probably will coach again. Someone probably will actually, believe it or not, be. I don't want to say stupid enough to give him a job because, he's had some good seasons, but, there's elements to him that just rub people the wrong way, just the way he acts, a bit of a condescending man at times, obviously. We've seen him, scream and yell at his players on the sideline. He does that quite a bit, and that's not always becoming, and apparently that was part of the problem. A lot of the players gotten a little tired of him, here in these last few weeks.
Where if he wants, that's where I wrote Pop Warner. Is under one of these comments on Twitter is where he should coach next, or high school. If he likes yelling at kids, he should go there. I mean, that's the ultimate high school football coach. Believe me.
Yeah, you can scream at 8-year-olds. Go for it there, Brian. Yeah. BK, have it your way. He's gonna. You suck, not you rule. You suck. BK, have it your way. You suck. Yeah, that's Brian.
That's Brian Kelly.
All right.
Hey, it's good. It's going to him. He left Notre Dame in the middle of the night. So
yeah, I mean, I think Notre Dame's probably looking back on it and saying, geez, we didn't miss that guy. And obviously, screaming, they get to a national championship game. Brian Kelly got to a national championship game, but got his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
championship game against Alabama.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman takes them to a championship game. They nearly win the damn game against Ohio State. Competitive effort, even though they lost. So big difference. Big difference. All right, it was a good, profitable week for me in college football. I think it was a good week for both of us. Let's see if we can keep it rolling here into Week 10. We will begin. We got a slew of weeknight games, most of them Conference USA matchups, starting with UTEP and Kennesaw State. We've got Kennesaw State 10-point home favorites, 51 the total in this game. No more after last week. That's it for me. I'm out as far as fading Kennesaw. That's it. This team is playing some really good football. I took FIU plus the points. It was a good week overall. That was not a good call, though, taking FIU against Kennesaw. Kennesaw had scored bang, bang on their first two drives, rolled up 45 points and almost 500 yards of offense in that game against Florida International. And they
a little deceiving, though, that box, too. I mean, FIU couldn't get in the end zone again.
Yep.
And I think they scored 2 or 3 straight touchdowns. I think they had, I don't know, almost 500 yards too?
They did. Yeah, it was not a Kennesaw defense either.
Yeah.
But Kennesaw defense had actually been playing pretty well. Last week, we saw them give up 26 points still and 500 yards. Keep in mind, Florida International, they played Middle Tennessee. There have been some weaker offenses, but their offense is good. They just got Amari Odom back, who's their number one quarterback. Dexter Williams was filling in for him for a couple of weeks there, but now they have Amari Odom back, and really good with the not only throwing, but he's got the ability to run as well, make plays with his feet. We'll see if he's able to keep it going here against UTEP. He should be able to. This has been a UTEP defense that hasn't had a very good season overall. But UTEP is coming off their second win of the season, their first win against an FBS opponent. The problem is, CMAC, it was against one of the worst FBS teams in the country, beating Sam Houston State 35-17. I will say this, though. It's not a big surprise to see it, but we kind of figured that it was going to be an improvement for this UTEP offense with Skylar Locklear. Now, again, is he a ideal quarterback, great quarterback? No, but it shows you just how bad Malachi Nelson was for UTEP. That he was just absolutely atrocious, that Skylar Locklear has actually given them a little jolt as far as moving the football offensively is concerned. We did see Kennesaw give up 500 yards to FIU, but I don't know if UTEP's stopping Kennesaw. Kennesaw's got a really good offense that can throw, that can run. They're very well balanced, and that could be something that UTEP's defense struggles with here. So, I'm kind of, first of all, I know I'm not going to be on UTEP, but do I want Kennesaw laying 10 now with where this number is? Maybe Kennesaw over their team total. I could certainly maybe see them going over that number of it's a high number, 30.5 for Kennesaw's team total, but they've scored 45 and 35, in each of the last two games against Louisiana Tech and FIU, and UTEP's not as good as those teams, in my opinion. So that's probably the way to go, is Kennesaw team total over. If you trust Locklear and the Miners offense to at least contribute a little bit, do you maybe look over 50.5, 51, the full game over? Because I do lean in that direction. CMAC, what do you think here? UTEP, Kennesaw State.
Oh, man. Yeah, some of these weeknight games had me not happy last
not
week.
The prettiest.
Not that La Tech under. I thought I was on the right side of a few. Overtime, always. Overtime. You don't know what's going to happen. Especially in college basketball, which will be very soon. We'll get to. Yeah, I think that UTEP, if you like them here, you have to think this game goes under. Like, if you think Utah is going to stay in it, I just think that they're not good offensively. I mean, Sam Houston's horrible. They looked all right there. Got a couple scores late in that game. But this is a team all year long that hasn't scored much at all. Now, Monroe has had a horrible defense as well. Their other game here where they scored 25 in that game. But I don't know how much they're going to score here. I think Kennesaw's defense is a little bit better than what they just showed. That game, yeah, FIU, had 9 more minutes, time of possession. It was kind of, I think, they just jumped on them 14-0. Then it was 21-0
That was kind of it. You could even say FIU outplayed them at times.
Yeah, but they're kicking field goals again.
Right.
Now they're like fumbling the ball and kicking field. They missed a field goal too. And we talked about that. with them that's that's the issue. You gotta punch them in the end. So, but I don't know. Kennesaw State now laying points like this. I couldn't take UTEP. I can't take them. I don't care who's in a quarterback either. By the way, I don't think there's a difference between Nelson. Like nothing.
By the way,
Zero.
Odom is not for sure playing because he got nicked up again toward the end of the Florida International game last week for Kennesaw. So, but Dexter Williams has played a lot. So
He's
I
played
don't
a
think
lot. He came in right for a couple.
difference between Amari Odom and Dexter Williams. I think both are capable. It's a plug and play type of offense to me.
Yeah. So I think we'll move on here.
All right, we move on indeed to this is an interesting game on Tuesday night. Sunbelt play. James Madison and Texas State. We've got JMU 6.5-point road favorites, 57 the total here in this game. JMU has certainly a chance to win the Sunbelt Conference this season, and they're a team that we know the run game is their bread and butter as far as moving the football. 6-1 on the season, 4-0 in conference play, first place right now in the Sunbelt. They are one game ahead of. I can't believe Coastal Carolina, with the way they started the season, is here now 3-1 alone in second in the Sun Belt. But there they are, Coastal Carolina. We'll get to them and their game in a little bit. But JMU, the class of this conference, in my opinion, I have zero interest fading them. Now, I know they had a couple games where they did not cover, but laying huge numbers, CMAC. 14-7 against Georgia State. 24-14 against Louisiana. They were 20 and 18.5-point favorites in those games. They bounced back with a convincing, thorough beatdown over Old Dominion, 63-27 in their last game. It was a close game back and forth, and then the JMU defense turned up the screws on a very good ODU offense led by Colton Joseph, and then the JMU offense did the rest. And that had to have been the best performance I've seen this year from the quarterback for the Dukes, Alonzo Barnett. 295 through the air, 153 on the ground. Barnett alone accounted for almost 350 yards, all-purpose total yards, against Old Dominion in that 63-27 victory a couple of weeks ago. So very impressive. The first thing you have to look at when you handicap a James Madison game is what is the opponent against the run defensively, and Texas State's not good this season against the run defense. They're not good, period, defensively. They've given up points to everybody. They've played the Bobcats against the run specifically, 4.3 yards per carry, which is 83rd in the country defensively. Worse as far as overall rush yards per game, 96th in the country. Texas State allowing 162.7 rushing yards per game. So this is a one-way game for me, CMAC. I know it's a home game. They're catching points. Texas State has been a point spread disaster area this season. No question about that. We've seen them now on a 0-5 ATS slide in their last 5 games. We saw them obviously lose outright as double-digit favorites to Arkansas State, lose outright as 7.5-point favorites to Troy, lose outright as 3-point road favorites the last time they played against Marshall. I know CMAC really liked Marshall in that game, and they were able to get it done against this Texas State team. Now they're a dog, so it's a little bit different. But you look back the last time they were an underdog, Texas State, they lost by 19 at Arizona State, did not cover. That was their one time this year. As actually they were an underdog too against UTSA first game of the year. They won that game outright. But JMU defensively for sure is a whole lot better than UTSA. I think JMU wins by a touchdown, possibly more. So I'm actually going to lay it here with James Madison, 6. I think they're the class, and I don't see any way Texas State's horrific defense. They don't stop anything. They don't stop the pass. They don't stop the run. And now with Barnett getting some confidence, CMAC, in that Old Dominion game with the passing game, the one concern with James Madison all year is they haven't thrown the football all that well. And then James Madison and Barnett had this breakout game throwing the football against Old Dominion a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, this is, to me, a game where James Madison, if they're on their game, they're capable of winning by at least a touchdown. CMAC, what do you think here? James Madison, Texas State.
Yeah, I think both these teams off buys as well in this game. I mean, if this is just on Saturday, like in the morning, it seems like this line would be bigger. I don't know, just because these weeknight games. Why is this a 6.5 or 6? Like, it seems too short for me. But one thing you have to think, if Texas State is even in this thing at all, the offense has to go. I mean, that's what they do. They have to score points. Like, to me, James Madison, you talk about the passing game open up, which they should have success against Texas State, who's ranked, whatever, 103rd. But how do they stop James Madison with the run? I mean, even if they sell out here, you're mentioning what they have. I think they average around 230 a game, does James Madison. 243, sorry, 8th. Texas State's 96, 162 they give up. I don't know how they stop them at all. It seems like a layup. Maybe just take James Madison team total here if you're a little bit. It seems like they still would able to score. Like if Texas State does cover, this is a high scoring game.
Yeah,
like back and forth. I like how James Madison's defense has played. That was a good second half. They got down.
They gave up. They were Old Dominion was scoring on every drive early in that game. Whatever halftime adjustments they made, holy shit, they fucking worked. I mean, my God, they did nothing in the second half. Old Dominion, and that's a good Old Dominion offense. That quarterback Joseph is very good. So you got to give JMU's defense a pitch a shutout in the second half. That's damn impressive against Old Dominion.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, JMU for me -6.5. I just think they're the class. They beat Texas. Now this is years ago. 3 years ago, but they beat Texas State 40-13 3 years ago, James Madison, when they played. And I don't think Texas State is as good. Last year, their defense had problems, too. I think their defense is probably even worse this year. And I don't think the quarterback plays and the offense is consistently as good with Brad Jackson, who's now taken over the quarterback reins there for them. By the way, no weather to speak of with the Tuesday games.
This game's had some wind, though, this game, I believe. 15-mile-an-hour wind, I believe, or is that the last one?
15's not terrible, but yeah.
It's early. We always do weather. I talk about, us on Mondays a little bit, just to throw if there's going to be some weather. But there looks like there's some wind.
The good news for James Madison, though, is if the wind does whip up, which obviously affects passing more than anything, we're talking about a JMU offense that, as far as rush attempts are concerned, 8th in the country, 99th in the country pass attempts. So they do run the football a lot more. So it won't.
They had that strange road game against Georgia State. It's 14-7. You could look at that, but hey, even though that was low scoring, that would still get you a cover.
I think it was for them too.
I'm just saying you cover here. I mean, even with this game.
This game, I think Texas State's still been one of the better teams in this conference. That this gets their attention, like the Liberty game did. And remember, James Madison went to Liberty on the road earlier this year and beat them 31-13. So. I think,
better offense. As bad as their defense are, Texas State, I think, has a better offense than Liberty. Maybe if that could help them there.
No doubt. All right, next up, you could do James Madison. You know what I might do? It's cheap enough. James Bet365 gives me this option. I've been using it in the NFL with great success. I had it with Buffalo yesterday. Buffalo Bills. Buffalo double result. Lead at halftime and win the game. It's a good bet. I'm starting to use that bet a lot more. JMU double result might be a good option here. Lead at halftime, win the game. If you're not as comfortable laying the 6.5 here. All right, let's go to Wednesday. We've got Jacksonville State and Middle Tennessee State. Jacksonville State 6.5 point road favorites, 54.5 the total in this game. Point spread and total were on the line very late in that game for Middle Tennessee against Delaware last week. If you had Middle Tennessee, if you had the over, congratulations, you were a winner with that late touchdown that the Blue Raiders were able to score. I had more on the over in that game, so it was good to see that. Middle Tennessee gets in the back door, and the game goes over with that last touchdown. They lose 31-28 to Delaware, but as 9-point dogs, they cover. And as I mentioned, game goes over the total. It's now 2 straight covers as a dog for the Blue Raiders. As bad as they are, they only have 1 win on the season, 1-6 straight up. They've now covered 2 in a row in the underdog role against Missouri State and Delaware. Jacksonville State comes into this game off back-to-back wins against Delaware. They beat Delaware, but it was a couple weeks ago. They're off a bye week here, Jacksonville State, for this game. They beat Delaware before the bye week, 38-25. They beat Sam Houston State, 29-27. We'll see how this one plays out. Jacksonville State, this goes back to, obviously, even before this year with Rich Rod. They are a team that, obviously, on the offensive side of the football, they're almost a run-exclusive offense. 4th rush attempts, 126th pass attempts. So this is a team that wants to run the football almost exclusively. Caden Creel, by the way, has taken over as the quarterback for this team. Creel, bye week, has come with an arm injury that he suffered. We'll see if he's able to play here for Jacksonville State in this game. If he can't recover to play here Wednesday night, Gavin Wimsatt, who started the year as the quarterback for Jacksonville State, will take over. But again, the quarterback's almost like a placeholder, in this offense because they just run the football so much. This is one where it's hard to step in front of Jacksonville State, that run game off a bye week, and seeing the numbers that we're seeing here from Middle Tennessee on the defensive side of the football, where they're giving up 142 rushing yards per game, 70th in the country, which isn't great. So you would think Jacksonville State's going to be able to run the football with success here against MTSU. And let's not forget last year, well, actually the last 2 years, Jacksonville State's put up 45 and 42 points against this Middle Tennessee State defense. So they've had no answers the last couple of years, Middle Tennessee on defense, slowing down this run game. So it's whether it's the -6 or whether it's the team total over here with Jacksonville State, which is around the 30.5 range. I mean, that does appeal to me, the 30.5 with the team total. And then I don't have to guess, CMAC, what Nick Vadiato and this Middle Tennessee offense is going to do against Jacksonville State's defense, because I'm pretty convinced pretty confident, especially off a bye week, Jacksonville State's going to be able to move the football and score points. Will Middle Tennessee State be able to trade points for 60 minutes with Jacksonville State? That's where it becomes a little bit more of a question mark, in my opinion. So I'll throw out a lean to Jacksonville State -6, but maybe even more so the team total over 30.5. CMAC, what do you think here?
I look at this. I look at the over here with Jacksonville. As much as they want to run the football, I think they're going to be able to score points in this game. I thought the total was a little bit. I know Jacksonville State's just in the top 20. I don't know where Middle Tennessee is here. I have to look that up.
Oh,
how quick they're playing. Yeah.
I'll take a look right
Middle
now.
Tennessee. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, I know Jacksonville State's still around the top 20 and pretty quick here. But they're still not great defensively. I thought Middle Tennessee, we talked about it last week, this team is pesky, hanging around. It seems like a game they could do the same thing and maybe not win, lose here with Middle Tennessee. They're going to want to throw it, and I think they can have success. That's the biggest thing. Like, I think they could score on this Jacksonville State team, which keeps them in it. I like how they play. I know Nevada's horrible.
Like, Jacksonville State's playing at a moderate tempo, slightly above average, but they've slowed it down a bit from last year. They're not going as fast as they did under Rich Rod.
No, they're not. But they're still way quicker than 130 teams. They're like in the top. Yeah,
Middle Tennessee's also picked up their pace a little bit, because last year Middle Tennessee was 27.4 seconds per play. This year they're 25.7 seconds per play. So Middle Tennessee's actually playing slightly faster.
Yeah, I like it. We talk about Jacksonville State 92nd, Middle Tennessee's defense, 81st, they're 70, 142 yards on the ground. It seems like Jacksonville State, they're 276. They'll have over 200 in this game. So, yeah, I kind of like Middle Tennessee. We talked about this last week. I wanted over 7 points in that game. I grabbed it live right away. Like, this is another one that maybe 6 is just not enough, even being here at home. I know Middle Tennessee, they want to win a game, but I don't know if this is the week. They have FIU next week at Western Kentucky, and then at home against Sam Houston. I think they get 1 or 2 there, but yeah, I think they're a little live. I want to back this team. I'm talking about it. They've been covering a little bit. I don't think they're as horrible as people say, but it's tough under the touchdown here, I think.
That's exactly why I like the team total more for Jacksonville State, because this could be 31-27, where Jacksonville State goes over 30.5, and it's 31-27, but they don't cover as -6. Because Middle Tennessee has perked up a little bit on offense in the last couple of games. So we'll see if that continues here.
Last couple of years have gone over too.
Yeah, certainly statistically, Jacksonville State's rushing attack should do damage and score points, and they were able to with no problem the last 2 years against Middle Tennessee State. All right, Florida International and Missouri State. We've got Missouri State 4-point home favorites, 51.5 the total. Jacob Clark returned from injury last week for Missouri State in their victory last week. It was a weird game against New Mexico State, but was able to find a way. And he had he had 2 interceptions, but more importantly, when he ran the football, when he threw the football, he was able to make some things happen. I don't think he was 100% because he really didn't run all that much, Jacob Clark. He's not much of a running quarterback anyway, but you could tell the knee injury was still impacting him a little bit in that game. But back-to-back wins here from Missouri State. Florida International off a beatdown last week against Kennesaw State, although, you could say a little bit misleading as far as the final score. We'll see if they can bounce back here. Remember, they were road underdogs just 2 weeks ago against Western Kentucky and handed it to them 25-6. Historically, this has been now UConn, they got blown out, but their other 2 tries as road dogs covered against Penn State early in the season, and of course the outright win against Western Kentucky. Missouri State is still looking, I believe, for their first home win in conference play this season. When you look at the past home games, they lost to SMU. They did beat Tennessee Martin. They lost a tough one against Western Kentucky. That was the game Jacob Clark got injured, couldn't finish the game. So, like I said, I think they'll be fired up here. Chance to win your first home game in conference play as an FBS member. But I was hoping for a better number than this. I was. And, I was thinking it would be closer to 3. We're getting it at 4 now with Missouri State. So I don't think I like the number enough here to take Missouri State, even though I like the situationals. And let's not forget, FIU has covered twice this year in the road dog role. C-Mac, what do you think here, FIU, Missouri State?
Yeah, they have. This game has a little bit of wind. That last game, too, and maybe some rain and a little bit of wind, too.
Yeah, rain, not so much wind for Middle Tennessee State, Jacksonville State, but this game a little bit more on the wind. Yeah.
This game has wind, just wind here. I don't think there's going to be any rain. But just throwing it out there, man, I think Missouri State wins this game. And I don't want to lay points for this team. I think in conference, the defense has looked better. They turned the ball over. I think he had a couple picks and they had a fumble. But Fife is just, 4 picks in that game. This is about as bad as it gets with a team that doesn't want to run the ball. And he's 22 of 34, 207, 4 interceptions, just killer.
Gift wrap that game for Missouri State.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, they have a good fourth quarter. They tie it up, and they had other chances too. It was ugly. But, yeah, FIU, you talked about a couple road wins. I like how the offense has looked a little bit this year, especially the last couple weeks. That makes me think that they could maybe keep this close. And this Missouri State team, some of the numbers look all right, and it's obviously who they're playing with these teams. I still don't think they're great defensively at all, even with Clark back. So I kind of learned lean FIU here early in the week, 3.5, 4.
All right, good stuff there. All right, next up as we continue along here, we've turn our attention to Thursday now, where we have Marshall and Coastal Carolina. Marshall 4-point road favorites, 54.5 the total here in this game. We have Marshall and Coastal both off buys, so there's really no advantage there as far as situationals are concerned. I'll hand it to Coastal Carolina. They've certainly started to turn things around. 3 outright wins as underdogs in 3 of their last 4 games against South Alabama, UL Monroe, and App State. The offense is
3 shitty teams, though.
Yes. Yeah. Offense is starting to get better, but here's the thing. Gosh, they're living off some incredible turnover luck right now, too, Coastal. In all of these games, the App State game, there were turnovers for App State that kind of did them in, and Coastal was able to take advantage of it. You look at, obviously, there's been just a couple of those. The ULM game was not so, even in that game, ULM had over 300 yards. It was closer than you would think, the way the box score lines up. But again, ULM, their quarterbacks turned it over twice in that game. And then the South Alabama game is the prototypical exhibit A of what I'm talking about. South Alabama's quarterback, Bishop Davenport, had 2 interceptions. They had a lost fumble. South Alabama had over 400 yards in that game against Coastal. Coastal only had 294 yards. It was a significant outgaining by South Alabama over Coastal Carolina, and yet Coastal won that game 38-20. That one in particular, one of the more misleading final scores of the entire season. So you could look at it and you can say, wow, Coastal, 3 of the last 4, they've won outright as a dog. How do we not take them here as a home dog? +4. I think they're overrated. I think they're not as good as these last few games would indicate. I'm still not the biggest fan of the guy that's now quarterback for them, Tad Hudson for Coastal Carolina. Come on, 54% completions, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's not exactly overly impressive by any stretch of the imagination. Meanwhile, for Marshall, I like the numbers of their quarterback. Carlos Del Rio Wilson, the Syracuse transfer, man, he's throwing it. He's slinging that rock right now. 74% completions, 12 touchdowns, just 1 interception. So he's had tremendous ball security, and he's taking care of the football here for this Marshall team. This is road favorite or pass for me. I think Coastal's a big fat phony. I really do. I think they are. I think they're living on borrowed time, feasted on turnovers and mistakes, and the other team shooting themselves in the foot. I really think when it's all said and done. And the one thing about Marshall, this team was gutted, as we know, in the offseason. Charles Huff left as head coach to Southern Miss, took everybody with him. We're really starting to see this team get it ramped up. Like, they're starting to really improve at a very quick rate. 4 wins in their last 5 games, 4-1 straight up, 4-1 against the spread. And, they beat Old Dominion, handed it to Old Dominion, Marshall. Beat Texas State as a dog. Those are better than any recent wins that, to me, Coastal has had as far as beating those opponents. So this is, to me, lay it with the road favorite or don't bet the game for me. Marshall or nothing. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think this might be the game because I just don't trust both defenses a little too. As much as I love Marshall and Wilson, I wanted to get to that. He finally had a pick. Before that, he didn't even have a pick.
Yeah.
And that's why they've been so good. I think they're 6th in the country, +8 turnover margin has been Marshall all year long, which has helped them out. I'm worried that every time when I think of teams like that, but some years just go that way. But man, because when I start seeing that, I think this guy's going to have a day.
Marshall does have a bad secondary, but I don't think this Tad Hudson guy can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not crazy, but I think they should be able to move the ball here a little bit. But I think Marshall should have no problem, running it, especially on this
bad run
Coastal Carolina defense. That's 113th, 180 yards a game. Marshall averages just under 200. And Wilson been really, really good. So I think this is a game that doesn't have much weather. I think it gets over. I think we could see plenty of points. So I would just look Marshall team total over or this full game over.
All right. Yeah, no weather on Thursday here with this one. All right, next up, we've got Tulane and UTSA. Tulane, 3.5-point road favorites, 55.5 the total here. We got AAC action. This should be actually a pretty good football game when it's all said and done. You've got these two teams, obviously. Tulane has been the class of the American Athletic Conference, sitting at 3-0 in conference play. Navy has surged out to undefeated start to the year, 7-0 overall, 5-0 in conference play, but it's Tulane sitting here in second at 3-0 in conference play. UTSA, kind of disappointing, actually, 1-2 in conference play so far. I know I expected them to have a pretty good season, but hasn't always been that way. So we'll see how this one plays out. Tulane coming into this one, both teams off a bye. Tulane off a 24-17 win against Army. Not a pretty win, but they found a way. And then UTSA got absolutely obliterated by North Texas, 55-17 prior to their bye week. When you look at UTSA this season, Owen McCown's a quarterback I thought was going to be pretty good for the UTSA Roadrunner offense. And his numbers to this point are, solid. I wouldn't say great, but they're solid. 63% completions, 13 touchdowns. Does have 4 interceptions. I think what's been interesting here about UTSA is the offense maybe not quite nearly as proficient as maybe we thought, especially in the passing game where they're only actually 98th in the country. As far as passing yards per game are concerned, they've actually been stronger running the football. Tulane has given up some run yards, but again, you have to factor in that some of these numbers might be skewed a little bit by early in the season, Tulane having to play some really good teams. They had to play a lot of Power 4 conference teams, and in some cases, good ones like Duke. So, you have to factor that in a little bit. Actually, if you parse it out to just the last 3 games, the Tulane run defense, the numbers look a lot better. So that tells you that when we get into conference play, the run defense has been better than the overall numbers would indicate. So, to me, I just think Tulane's the class of this conference. I don't want to bet against them. Don't know if I'm going to lay more than a field goal, but Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback here for Tulane, of course, coming over from BYU, where he was displaced. He's been very good. He's protected the football, 61% completions, 1,400 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception on the year for Retzlaff. And when you look at, obviously, the defense on the other side of the equation, this was the concern we had for UTSA coming into the year, that their defense wasn't really all that spectacular. And now their defense, the run defense has gotten worse, actually, UTSA in conference play. Last 3 games, they're giving up 196 per game on the ground, 4.6 yards per carry. Both of those numbers are worse than their overall season numbers. Their passing numbers are better, but they've really suffered as far as running the football. And Tulane's a run-first offense. Retzlaff throws it, but this is a team that wants to run the football and be balanced. So I think UTSA's defense is going to be in for maybe a bit of a struggle. Of course, this is at the Alamo Dome, so you definitely won't have weather here for this game to worry about. But, Tulane's a class. Some roll off a bye. He's one of those coaches I think the world of as far as prep and having his team ready, and he's done a great job everywhere he's been, Troy, and now here at Tulane. I just don't want to bet against a really good team and a really good coach off a bye week. So if you made me choose Tulane or nothing, I was hoping for maybe a 3 or lower than that, but it's still Tulane or nothing in this game for me. I think they're the class. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they are too. In this game, like, why is this so short? I think this number should be bigger. I just think this sets up in these weekday games for UTSA to play good here at home after just getting their ass kicked.
Thursday night, it'll be a TV game as well. Yeah.
TV game. But you're right.
Although our mutual pal, Nuke Worker, good to see him in the chat, says Jose Bouquet says UTSA sucks, so I'll take Tulane. I don't know about suck. They've just been mildly disappointing based on expectations.
Yeah, it's really McCowney talked about. It's just he hasn't been able to kind of just throw the ball with ease like the last few years. They've been able to run the ball. At Tulane, I mean, their run defense is what? All right, here they get 94th, 161. So UTSA averages 185 on the ground. So I think they'll be able to run the ball. That always helps them out too. But UTSA is, man, it's been pretty rough for them. This is a big game. To me, Tulane is just better. Retzlaff, you talked about. UTSA's off a bye as well, right? Or they play.
Both are, yeah. So no advantage.
Yeah, both of a bye. Really? Yeah. I just wanted to double check. I thought they were. So yeah, this is tough. It seems like Tulane could go in there and win by 7 or more. Yeah. I don't know if I want to test it here. Yep. This defense with UTSA, I don't know. Like earlier in the year, they had those tight, low scoring, like Colorado State when they weren't scoring. The Temple game, beat up on Rice, and everyone gives up a ton of points to North Texas. So I don't want to make of this defense here.
All right, next up, we go to Friday night now. Memphis, Rice. We've got Memphis, 14-point road favorites, 49.5 the total. Memphis, welcome to college football, where you can go from losing as a 3-touchdown favorite to UAB, who just fired their coach, Trent Dilfer, and you can turn around and beat what looked like clearly the best team in this conference. Well, Navy, I should say, is at the top of the conference, but I think South Florida, you could argue talent-wise, positioned for position is maybe the best team in the conference, and there's Memphis beating them, coming back from a deficit. They trailed most of that game and found
Great
a
fourth
way to
quarter.
come back at the end. Great fourth quarter at home in the Liberty Bowl there, and they beat South Florida 34-31. Nice comeback victory. But Memphis has been one of these teams, and 7-1 straight up, 7-1 against the spread, but they have been a team that for years under Ryan Silverfield, once in a while they'll rise up in those big games, especially at home against the best teams. And these are the spots where they trip up, and we already saw it with UAB, obviously, a couple of weeks ago. And this Rice team, they look like they needed that bye week after the UTSA shellacking, and they lost as a favorite to FAU, and they lost to Navy. Like, they looked like they were leaking oil, but then they get the bye week, and they come out of the bye week, they look refreshed last week against UConn. Shout out to Connor Mack for that great call with Rice. If you watch the Friday members-only show, he mentioned liking Rice plus the points. They win outright against the UConn Huskies, 37-34. Very entertaining football game. Like I said, the run game had its pop back again. Yeah. Quentin Jackson ran all over UConn's defense, 168 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Chase Jenkins, the quarterback, was efficient enough, used his legs as well in that game. Like I said, Quentin Jackson, outstanding, not only running it, but catching it out of the backfield. There was also 7 receptions for 49 yards from Aaron Turner. Just a really good performance from that Rice offense. Defense struggled a bit against UConn, and that's obviously the concern against a Memphis team that can move the football. But certainly offensively, Rice looked very solid. When you look at the numbers here with these two teams, it's a run-heavy offense for Rice. Will they be able to do damage running it here on Memphis? Well, again, overall, the numbers for Memphis's run defense look good. Very good, in fact. But look at these last 3 games. They've gotten worse, much worse. 195 rushing yards allowed. They're giving up 5.7 yards per carry in the last 3 games, the Memphis defense against the run. So I think Rice is in this game. This is your typical Ryan Silverfield Memphis spot where they get you non-believing after the UAB collapse. They suck you back in. They draw you back in with a huge win against South Florida last week, and now watch them sputter their way to a close victory. Hell, it wouldn't even shock me if they lose this game, given what they've done in the past. So I'm taking Rice here, plus 14. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I got to have this over 14, though, and I think this might come down, to tell you the rest of the week a little bit. We'll see. But Rice did well, like you talked about. I think they'll be able to run the ball here. Jenkins, what you talked about, like, that's what this guy needs to do. Like, what was he, 17-22, 191, 1 touchdown. Just don't turn the ball over.
Yep.
And I think you'll be all right. And Rice's defense, though, has looked a little bit leaky. So I think, and I hate being that I was just on them and loved them here, but they're back at home. How do they not? After a win, got to be feeling good. Memphis has struggled.
The total's a bit too low as well. 49.5. There's no rain or wind at the moment for Friday night.
I know. These games between them, too, the last years have kind of been lower scoring, tighter games. And they played, 2023, these 2 teams?
Yeah.
Because I know they play pretty regularly right now. Right?
Yeah, it actually was 27-20 Memphis last year. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Memphis was at home. And they were favored by 7. And now they're favored by this. Yeah. I mean, people love them. We talked about
it's the tax you get
Memphis.
with a team that's 7-1 ATS. Yeah, that's what you got with Memphis. You're paying the tax now.
Yeah, and as soon as they're a dog, I'm like, they're alive, like last week. And then when they're laying these points, even though they've covered this year and they look great ATS, there's no way I could back them.
Yep.
No way. So over 14's got to be Rice.
All right.
Don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, just don't turn the ball
over. I think they're in it here at home. Yeah. And this is a team, because you can't turn the ball over just because maybe they could. I just, unless they play prevent defense, like, I just don't love them from behind, because they don't throw it. So you just can't get a shellacking early. And I think they're definitely in it.
Yeah, he's playing better, Brendan Lewis, no doubt, because this is a guy that didn't play all that well. Colorado and Nevada, his 2 previous schools. But I've still got. It still does have 4
I don't give
interceptions.
a shit.
Yeah, yeah,
He's all right. Yeah.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
Shit.
More so
Raymond
the
Lewis.
supporting cast around him that's getting it done for Memphis. All right, North Carolina, Syracuse on Friday night. We've got Syracuse 2-point home favorites, 46.5 the total in this game. Typical Bill Belichick after that brutally tough loss. Actually, it was a good competitive effort for 2 weeks in a row now. I'll tell you what, North Carolina's been competitive. You know, the 3-point loss at Cal, losing in overtime.
Losers.
17-16. Went for the 2, went for the win, didn't get it. With the classic Bill Belichick, and why'd you go for 2? He says, trying to win the game, and then repeat it again, just trying to win the game. Yep, and but you didn't win the game, unfortunately. The 2-point conversion falls short. They lose 17-16 to Virginia. That being said, like I said, they've been more competitive of late. They have been knocking on the door of getting their first ACC victory under Bill Belichick. Will this be the week? We'll have to wait and see on that. Syracuse, they're back home after a 41-16 shellacking at the hands of Georgia Tech. I mean, do I have to actually lean to North Carolina? I don't think I want this game, quite honestly.
I can't do it.
Ricky Collins, I can't. I just can't, man. He's not good. This offense has not been good.
Ricky,
with him.
Come on.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
Yeah. He threw a pair of interceptions in the first half against Georgia Tech. He threw the true freshman, then he benched Collins against Georgia Tech. Luke Carney, the true freshman, came in. He went in for 3 drives, punt, 3 and out, punt, 3 and out, punt, 3 and out, punt. And then Collins came back in, and then he threw another interception in that game against Georgia Tech. Like, Fran Brown does not have a quarterback without Steve Angeli.
You mean the game before he threw those picks?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
You mean the game before, not Georgia Tech,
But yeah, he's got no quarter, and he struggled again versus Georgia.
Yeah,
like he's got the quarterback play stinks without. Let's call it like we see it. The quarterback play's been awful without Steve Angeli, so it's very difficult, even at home on a Friday night at the Carrier Dome, to be laying points with Syracuse. And like I said, North Carolina. I know it's a disheartening loss to Cal 2 weeks ago. They battled. Maybe if they don't fumble before they get to the end zone in that Cal game, they might have won it. That's what really cost them. And then a winnable game against a pretty good Virginia team, they fall short. Maybe they're ready to win a game. They've been knocking on the door. Maybe this is the spot for it. So, yeah, maybe a lean North Carolina, but gosh, I'm not excited about backing either of these teams. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, no. You know what I like, at least?
Under?
North Carolina's defense. A little bit, yeah, in this game. I don't know if I could play it. I'm gonna wait on this a little bit, but I like what I've seen the last few weeks with the defense. You got
to give their defense credit because Chandler Morris and that Virginia offense has been humming most of the year.
I know. I stayed off. I was going to take their team total.
Yep.
Yeah, Virginia. I didn't play it, but we talked about it last week. So they have looked better. But it's a road game. Collins has just been
hitting these 2 fucking teams are playing on Halloween night because this is probably going to be a very scary game.
Yeah, 2 scary, horrible teams. So I'll leave it at that. I'll shout out the chat, everyone in here, instead of talking this football game. Nuke Worker, Andrew, FB, what up, Robert? In the green. Shout out to all the members in the green. We appreciate you. There's Mikey, Sports Money. What up, Mike Jones in the house? Nuke Worker, everyone else, Ross Pitts, what's going on? That's it. Let's get to the next one.
Our last game for the weeknight slate, this one also Friday night, Sam Houston State, Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech 17-point home favorites, 49.5 total in this one. Big number here for Louisiana Tech for a team that's lost outright as favorites 2 games in a row to the Kennesaw State and to Western Kentucky. So all of a sudden, Louisiana Tech, perfect ATS to start the year for their backers. And now they've dropped 2 in a row against Kennesaw and Western Kentucky. We'll see how they fare here in this matchup versus Sam Houston State, who still searching for their first win of the season. Sam Houston State coming off a 35-17 loss to UTEP, 0-7 straight up, 1-6 against the spread. They are off a bye week, but gosh, I remember the last time we were talking about Phil Longo and Sam Houston State off a bye week. Thought it was actually a great spot for them. At New Mexico State off a bye week, desperate winless team, and they got their ass handed to them coming off that bye week at New Mexico State, losing 37-10. They weren't even in the game. So what do you do here? Louisiana Tech might be a little bit overvalued. This Sam Houston State team hasn't won straight up, 1-6 against the spread. Do you have the leap of faith to back them, even though you're getting 17? Because last time they were off a bye, they played at New Mexico State and they lost by 27. Okay? And Louisiana Tech's probably a little bit better than New Mexico State. So that's why it's hard. It's just difficult. This time of year, I don't want to bet the bad teams, the really worst of the worst teams. And to me, Sam Houston State's established themselves as one of the worst teams in college football this season. So this is probably going to be a pass, I'll be honest. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah. When I look at it, I think Louisiana Tech just controls this game. I mean, that's why you have this low a total. Sam Houston's but do you trust La Tech's defense? Do I want to be betting their defense to hold down Sam Houston's team total under?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I kind of lean in this game. I thought their defense has played well. Sam Houston, try to run the ball a little bit more, but this offense still is not very good. Yeah, I pass. Let's get on with it.
You know what, too? I'm looking at these road performance. The 1-point spread cover, C-Mac, was against Jacksonville State, but it was at home. Look at these road games for Sam Houston. 41-24 loss to Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
37-20 at Hawaii, 55-0 at Texas, and 37-10 off a bye week, 37-10 at New Mexico State. It's hard to back them.
Louisiana Tech off of back-to-back losses, too, and a tight one versus Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
It just seems like a nice spot for them. I mean, this is why this line is where it's at.
First half, Louisiana Tech. I could see it. Maybe they pounce on them early.
Maybe.
Off 2 losses in a row. Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's go to Saturday. Now, this is a good one in the SEC. Oklahoma and Tennessee. We've got Tennessee 3.5-point home favorites, 57 the total in this game. How about the way Ole Miss and Trinidad Chambliss and that Lane Kiffin offense just destroyed, ran over this Oklahoma defense. Oklahoma defense has had a pretty solid year, and they could not figure out the Ole Miss offense, losing 34-26 at home against Ole Miss. Ole Miss ended up with 431 yards of offense. Trinidad Chambliss is a hell of a player. I'm telling you. I mean, to go on the road against a defense we thought was pretty good and have 315 through the air, no interceptions, 1 touchdown. He relied on, of course, Kewan Lacey, I should say, 78 receiving yards. Winston Watkins had a nice game, 111 receiving yards from him. Harrison Wallace helped out. Now, the defense, still gave up points to John Mateer and the Sooner offense, but for Ole Miss to roll into Oklahoma and play that well was impressive. And for Oklahoma, you're going to try to fix your defense there. The more I start to look at the Oklahoma defense, which I still think can be pretty good, but you look at Michigan's offense has been inconsistent, hit or miss, sporadic, erratic, whatever word you want to use. Temple, not a good offense. Auburn, not a great offense. Texas has been a disappointment offensively. South Carolina, another team that hasn't really clicked with Lenora Sellers on offense. Maybe this is more Oklahoma's defense. We overrated them a little bit because they have not played a bushel full of, elite offenses, explosive offenses, dynamic offenses, potent offenses. It's starting to look that way because the more you start to really think, well, they played Michigan, but Michigan hasn't had a great offense or consistent offense. Yeah, they played Auburn, but Auburn hasn't had a consistent offense. Yeah, they played Texas, but Arch Manning and their offense has been a mess for much of the season. Yeah, they played South Carolina, but Lenora Sellers and that offense hasn't been hitting the ground on all cylinders this year. So maybe this Oklahoma defense is just a little overrated because we thought this was a great defense, but maybe it's more so, hey, they haven't played a ton of great offenses. Well, they're going to face one here in Tennessee. Because Tennessee with Joey Aguilar can move the football. There's no question about that. However, the Tennessee defense is still, to me, in my opinion, not great. And we continue to see it week in and week out. Teams have gotten to 24-plus now in 6 straight games against Tennessee. Even UAB put up 24. Mississippi State put up 34. Arkansas put up 31. Bama 37. How the hell did Kentucky put up 34 points with that offense and Cutter Boley? And yet they were able to. He was slinging it. against that Tennessee secondary. 5 touchdowns, 330 passing yards. Cutter Boley was doing that against Tennessee's defense last week for Kentucky. So I actually think this game could go over the total, 57. I think Oklahoma's defense a little overvalued because they've feasted on offenses that have turned out to not be as good as we thought. They finally played an offense that's really damn good, Ole Miss, and they struggled last week, Oklahoma. So I think Tennessee can move the football on them. But I also think Oklahoma with Mateer and that offense against their defense can move the ball because Tennessee's defense, we're finding out week to week, they give up points. So give me the over here, Oklahoma, Tennessee. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss was able to move the football. Even the defense kind of early bend but didn't break. I think they had 4 field goals, Ole Miss. 3 or 4. 4. Yeah, they did have 4.
No weather at Neyland Stadium, by the way, in Knoxville for this Saturday. It looks like it's going to be fine.
The only thing is, even though they're on the road, I still think they have the better defense here, and they're catching points.
From a side perspective, I haven't decided what I'm doing on the side, but for me, it's probably going to be Oklahoma or pass. I'd rather have them off a loss than Tennessee off a win against a mediocre Kentucky team where they still gave up 34 points. I do lean Sooners here, plus 3.5.
Yeah, and Tennessee jumped all over Kentucky in that game. Shout out to them. They were all over them basically the whole game. But Kentucky moved the football. Yeah, this Tennessee defense secondary still isn't very good. They give a bunch of big plays. So I think this game's close. I don't know about the total. Maybe it's just Tennessee. It's going to go over. That's just going to be a bunch of points. So,
well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, you're in a game with 90 points against Kentucky. I mean, that was eyebrow-raising to me, seeing that. Holy gosh. And Oklahoma's still a better offense.
Oklahoma, horrible fourth quarter they played.
Yeah.
That game.
Yeah.
Were they up by 1 or down by 1?
They were up.
They were up by 1.
Yeah.
Going into the fourth?
Yeah.
25, 26, 25.
Yeah. Yeah, just they had no answers. Chambliss can play, man. He's
Wow.
Yeah, he's been outstanding for Ole Miss. There's no question. He played well again, obviously, last week in that victory in Norman. All right, next up, we've got Notre Dame and Boston College. Notre Dame, as you would expect, big favorites here, 28.5 on the road, 57.5 being the total here in this game. We know this Boston College team is certainly sputtered, and that goes without saying. And now they got to welcome in what can be a very potent, very dangerous Notre Dame offense with Jadarian Price, with Jeremiah Love, and C.J. Carr at the controls under center at quarterback. Bye week 2 for Notre Dame. They haven't played since that 34-24 win over USC in the rain at South Bend a couple weeks ago. Boston College, I'll give them credit. They were a little bit more competitive last week, at least against Louisville. 38-24, 26-point road underdogs. They were able to cover that number. Grayson James has lifted the offense at least a little bit. 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but to me, he's clearly, played a little bit better, given a little bit more of a pep to the offense for the Eagles than Dylan Lonergan, who was really struggling when Bill O'Brien decided to make the quarterback change for Boston College. We'll see what the weather is here for South Bend for Chestnut Hill on Saturday at BC. It looks like the wind and the rain aren't going to be that much of an issue, if at all. Kind of lean over. But I am a bit concerned, does BC's offense do? Because I think Notre Dame is going to get theirs. They will. BC has just got a defense that's just collapsed here in recent weeks. They're giving up big plays, big yards to everybody. I mean, Miller Moss shredded them. The run game that's a real concern to me. You saw Isaac Brown, Kewan Brown for Louisville, combined for 300 rushing yards on 24 rush attempts against Boston College. Like, how?
Yeah.
Hello. How if you're doing that and you're giving that up to Louisville, what the hell are Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love combination going to do against this Boston College run defense? So, yeah, this is Notre Dame, could probably score at will. So, team total over, I don't mind that for Notre Dame. It's just for the full game over, I lean that way, determining whether BC can do enough to help that full game go over. C-Mac, what do you think here, Notre Dame, BC?
Yeah, I mean, how does this Notre Dame not put up at least what 42 here, right?
Yeah, because the run
45.
defense is miserable for BC. Yeah.
Uh, these games used to be tight too.
Yep.
It's just a little bit of a rivalry, somewhat throughout all the years they play it all the time. But Boston College has been awful. It really mentioned that the offense scored a little bit more
Over
with
6 yards
James.
per carry, 212 per game on the ground for BC allowed the last
Oh,
three
their
games.
numbers suck.
Yeah.
The against the pass, they're horrible as well. This team's just been dog shit. Dog shit. So yeah, Notre Dame team total. I think they do whatever they want here.
Yeah.
Like they haven't had a road game in a long time. I mean, and the last one was what 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Arkansas. Yep.
Yeah, they put up 63. So, yeah,
Yeah. That's probably the
and
best.
they need to keep winning. They just need to keep winning and kicking
Points
ass.
matter because they're right on the
Yeah.
fringe of the playoff. Like if they could run it up against somebody, they'd probably be served to do that. Well served to do that in a game like this where they have quite the massive advantage at the line of scrimmage, their run game against that just porous Boston College run defense. All right, next up as we continue along here, we've got Duke and Clemson. ACC action. Clemson 3.5-point home favorites, 55.5 being the total here in this game. You look at Clemson, and we thought they were coming around. Now they didn't have Cade Klubnik the last time we saw them against SMU, but still it was a pretty poor game by the poor season really for Dabo and the entire operation here with Clemson. We'll see how they fare here in this matchup against Duke. My immediate lean is Duke. Duke might just be the better team at this stage of the season. We know that Clemson obviously has had a disappointing year. They are both off a bye week, both of these teams, so there is no advantage there either
Both
way.
have losses, right, Tim?
Exactly. Yeah, Duke ended up falling short to a very, very good Georgia Tech team, though, so no shame in that. Duke losing to them before the bye week. Cade Klubnik, from all indications, is questionable for Saturday against Duke. He obviously didn't go against SMU. Christopher Vizina got the start for Clemson in that game against SMU. He didn't play that bad, actually. 24 points, 3 touchdowns, 317 through the air. He actually played quite well, Christopher Vizina. So we'll see if he is going to get the start again, if Cade Klubnik is a no-go here for this Clemson team. But I still think Duke's the better team. And I'm interested in them plus 3.5 here. CMAC, Duke, Clemson.
I think so too, especially after the loss. And you know what I think in this game? If they don't turn the ball over, that's been their biggest problem in the losses.
It has
even that
turnovers.
I think they were better. That one though got them that touchdown right away. Against Georgia Tech, and then the second half just couldn't do anything. Even though the yards and everything were showing how this team, it was really wild to see. And that can happen. You can be down 7-3 and be up 200 yards, at halftime. Shit like that. Missed field goals, turnover on downs, fumbles. So when they've been clean, they played a lot better. And I don't know what to make of Clemson. I don't think they're very good. I don't think it matters who the hell's the quarterback. Really? Yeah. Does it?
No,
I don't think so.
I agree with Robert in the chat too. Totals wise, I think this might be an over for me. Even if
I was just going to say,
Dina played well.
I lean it.
Dina played well against SMU.
Yeah, I would lean over a little bit. It seems like if Duke does play well, it'll get over. Like if they don't, this stays under. To me. But if they're playing well, scoring points, it could get over. So, and I what do you make of this Clemson defense? Like, I don't think
it's great because they're still living off that LSU win, and that LSU offense is no good. It's totally overrated, that LSU offense. And look what they did against Georgia Tech. They struggled. Steve Angeli and Syracuse, 34 points. Okay, they shut down North Carolina and Boston College with Lonergan, but those aren't great. Any offense with a pulse, any above average offense, Clemson has struggled. SMU 2 weeks ago, they gave up 35. And Mensa, pretty solid quarterback for Duke if there's no turnovers. We know he can move the football. So
yeah,
I think they're going to struggle here, Clemson's D.
All
right, on we go. We've got Wake Forest and Florida State. Florida State, 8.5-point home favorites, 50.5. I mean, these are two teams in polar opposites now of the spectrum. Wake Forest and Florida State. Florida State started off the season blistering hot. Looked like it was going to be a rebound season for Mike Norvell and his crew. And then Wake Forest was sputtering out of the gate for Jake Dickert in his first season as head coach. And now you fast forward to this matchup Saturday in Tallahassee. You got the other team, Florida State, after a red hot start, they're sliding and going in the other direction. And Wake Forest, after a sluggish start, they're also going in the other direction positively. Wake Forest, 3 straight wins, 2 of them as outright as dogs against Virginia Tech and SMU. Ugly game last week, but they won 13-12 over SMU. And it was very impressive is that Ashford got injured during that game, and Deshaun Purdy had to take over at quarterback for Wake Forest. Still able to get the job done. Damon Claiborne, their running back, was solid, 73 yards rushing in that game for Wake, but they found ways there. And what really hurt SMU was 1 interception from Kevin Jennings, 2 lost fumbles, although you could say Wake Forest, they had 3 lost fumbles, and Purdy threw 2 interceptions.
Game was so ugly.
3 lost fumbles.
Insane.
Still minus 2 in turnovers, and Wake won. Still found a way to win that game against SMU last week. So big win. Is there maybe an emotional hangover? Perhaps, but I'm on Wake anyway. I don't even care if there's a potential emotional hangover. Florida State's going the other way, sideways. 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread the last 4 games. I think people got carried away after that Alabama game saying Florida State is back. No, they're not. They lost to Virginia outright as favorites. Miami, it was really a blowout. Florida State made it look closer toward the end. Pitt, they lost outright as double-digit favorites. And then the worst of all was Stanford, 20-13 a couple weeks ago. And Tommy Castellanos is back to the Tommy Castellanos of BC, just not very accurate, not very consistent. He only completed 50% of his passes 2 weeks ago against that Stanford defense.
There he is. That's the old guy. That's the guy I know.
Castellanos, we know. Yeah, give me Wake. I know Florida State.
Is he all right, by the way, after that hit he took? When he slid,
Good call.
At the end of that game.
Good.
I had to look that up.
Check that. Yeah, questionable. He did get banged up there toward the end. So will he play? Brock Glenn, I believe, is the backup quarterback here at Florida State. Yeah, he hasn't been good when we've seen him start in the past, but he would be the next in line, next man up option if Tommy Castellanos does not. Although it could be Kevin Sperry as well. They've got him actually listed ahead of Brock Glenn. So maybe we'll see Kevin Sperry instead. But Sperry has, minimal. Actually, the numbers are not bad. Minimal snaps, but he got into 3 games this year and 12 of 17, 70% completions, 2 touchdowns. So we'll see if Sperry gets the start or Glenn. One of those 2 guys if Castellanos does not go. But I don't know. For me, it's Wake or pass. Wake's on the incline. I know Florida State, the only one thing they do have an advantage here is they're off a bye, but I don't know if it's going to matter. And they're laying 8, and I don't trust them laying a number like this. C-Mac, what do you think here? Wake Forest, Florida State.
Yeah, off the bye, but some question marks. Who's going to play? Wake Forest has got a lot of these teams, too. They got a lot of injuries going on, but they just keep playing. They win. They cover again. They covered again. First half. Talked about it last week. Best first half team. Can they do it again here on the road? I think so. You know why? It's been the defense. To me, this is why they've been a lot better. Now they've got some better play. We talked about quarterback play, these last 4 or 5 weeks. And at times they can run the ball, of course. So, but I think their defense has looked a lot better. The secondary has looked good. And a guy, whoever is playing quarterback, I think could have some trouble. So how do I run away from Wake now? I think they're close. FSU, they play Clemson too next week, I think.
Yeah.
At Clemson, right?
I think so, yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, next up, we've got Indiana and Maryland. We've got Indiana 21.5-point road favorites, 51.5 the total in this game. Indiana, they're at the stage of the season too, where obviously it's been ultra impressive what they've done. They just beat down UCLA, did whatever they wanted offensively last week against UCLA, 56-6, just a thumping over the Bruins, who had actually shown some life since the coaching change. But it's been impressive for Kurt Cignetti's crew. We'll see if they can keep it up here on the road against Maryland. Maryland's off 3 straight losses, although they've been competitive and they've been covering numbers. 4-0 against the spread their last 4 games. But Wisconsin, Washington, Nebraska, UCLA, and now you go to this Indiana juggernaut. That's the concern I've got here for Maryland, is that this year you faced Florida Atlantic, Northern Illinois, Towson, a horrific Wisconsin team that's already fired Luke Fickell, their head coach. And you were, you feasted on the weak. And then you played some better teams. Washington was in a tough spot. Nebraska's not all that great. UCLA, I know they've been close and competitive, but you can't put any of those teams right now in the stratosphere of the Indiana Hoosiers at this point in time. So the only thing I would lean to is, I still don't think the Maryland defense is all that great. And this could be one of those games where they get exposed. So I'll tell you, last week, Connor, Indiana team total over versus UCLA and the full game over. And the full game over got there mostly all because of Indiana. But that's kind of what I'm looking at here in this game. Indiana team total over and a split with the full game over 51.5. So I think Indiana can score at will. But I think Maryland with Malik Washington might be able to chip in just enough to help get that game go up and over the total in this one. C-Mac, what do you think here? Indy, Maryland.
I think that's the look, because these are just 2. It'd be, when I was going through it, Indiana team total. I think you could just take that they get enough.
Yep.
Seems like they're kind of just on a
I think they get close to
here.
the 51 by themselves if they're locked in, if they're dialed in. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're dialed in. And on the other side, I take Maryland's team total under. Like, I don't know if they get much. Maybe full game, they could get a late touchdown. Or even Indiana, first half. Their team total. I mean, right now they are just rolling. Who's ever in the way, get out. And Maryland's been played well at home, in certain spots. When I see a home dog like this, I want to take him so bad.
You think he's in the Heisman running? I think he is. I think he's got a shot, Fernando Mendoza, if he keeps playing this.
Oh, he does for sure.
100%.
If he keeps, definitely. He's right there right now, I think. So I love how Maryland's played. Man, they've covered a lot of games too. And at home, they've been pretty good. Indiana just keeps rolling here. And I like Maryland, what they've done. Do I trust them here? That's the other thing.
Yeah.
And they're off a bye, right? Yeah.
They are,
They didn't play last week.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
I like how they played it, and their defense, not all the time, and they could get exposed here. But I think in spots in these games, they've played well. Other than the crumbles late, too. Late in games, fourth quarters, where they've blown games. So maybe it's just Indiana early.
All right, next up, we've got Purdue and Michigan. Michigan, 21.5-point home favorites, 51 the total. Give me those Boilermakers in this spot. I like Purdue here, plus 21.5. I know this is a team that, gosh, they've got to be beside themselves with all these opportunities they've had to win some of these games, especially the Minnesota game, especially the Rutgers game last week. That's hard to believe they couldn't find a way to win that game, but just can't close right now, Purdue. They either turn it over, or they can't get a stop when they need it. But they had, the lead late against Rutgers, and then Rutgers ties it, and then a quick change after turnover, and then they kick the game-winning field goal with the time expiring for Rutgers to beat Purdue 27-24. Like I said, I don't mind. It's been obviously it's Ryan Brown actually got back into the game, and Malachi Singleton started the game, but Ryan Brown came back in later on. So we'll see what Barry Odom's going to do as far as quarterback play is concerned. Like I said, I think I've seen some good things out of Singleton. Brown can move the ball, but Brown has had obviously a ton of turnover issues at times this year as well. This to me is more so, C-Mac, Michigan, the more you watch, and with this offense and Bryce Underwood, they're not a team I'm fully trusting, in this kind of a point spread range. We saw them last week at Michigan State. Now, it was a backdoor touchdown, but still didn't cover and only win by 11 on the road against the Spartans in that game. They beat Washington 24-7, but they were only laying a small number, and the margin still was only 17 in that game. We saw it against Wisconsin at home, 17.5-point favorite. They only won that game 24-10. So 2 times they've been favored by double digits in Big Ten action at home, and they're 0-2 against the spread in those games. Actually, no, the Michigan State was on the road, but the one time they were favored at home by double digits, the Wisconsin game, 24-10. They only won by 14. Saw them double-digit road favorites at East Lansing last week. They only won by 11. Purdue can be feisty. Don't forget, 20.5-point dogs against USC. They only lost by 16 in that game. And a lot of their losses, 16 to USC, 16 to Illinois, 7 to Minnesota. They've been competitive in some games, and it's a big margin to get, and a big margin that Michigan's going to need to get here in order to cash a ticket for their backers. And a bye week after this, maybe Michigan's looking ahead, to the week off, a little chance to rest and recuperate. So, yeah, I'm interested here, Purdue at this number, 21.5. CMAC, what do you think here, Purdue, Michigan?
I think Purdue's defense has played a little bit better at times, and it shows with some of the numbers. Yeah. A little bit better in spots. Hey, yeah, baby steps.
Yes.
Here with Purdue, but I want the points for them too. I just the turnovers. I can't get over it. I can't. It's just keep watching it. It just goes in my head and in the game.
And that's what's causing it. They just we know we're going to fumble at some point. We know it's going to cost us in a big spot, and it keeps happening.
Yeah, it just keeps happening. It's like if they take care of the ball, which I think down the line with Odom, this team will be a lot better. They'll start covering games, winning games.
No, you can see that they've made a lot of strides already. Like they're not getting
for sure
every week like they were last year. Yeah.
But Michigan has a really, really good defense, But, yeah, the offense, I just don't know if they're going to blow you away.
Yeah.
So that keeps this open with 3 touchdowns. Like it seems like Purdue, I don't love them, but can they get maybe a score or two? That might be enough here. Like we just saw Michigan State. I had Michigan State first half. They covered that pretty easy. I think it was 10-7 at halftime in that game, I believe. So, maybe Purdue here early.
Good stuff. All right, next up, we go back to ACC action. Georgia Tech, NC State. Georgia Tech, 6.5-point road favorites. 57 the total here in this game. I believe we're good with weather at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh for this one between the Yellow Jackets and the Wolfpack. Georgia Tech, I'll tell you what, dismantled Syracuse over the weekend, 41-16. How about that? They've actually covered as double-digit favorites 2 times in a row, which hasn't happened that regularly for Georgia Tech. Long-term,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, exactly. Long-term, they're not a great double-digit favorite, but 35-20 against Virginia Tech, 41-16 the last 2 times they've been in that role. We'll see how it goes here against NC State. NC State's just got a brutally bad defense. We've talked about that all year. They're allowing it's funny. Their run defense numbers are, believe it or not, they're not that bad. So it's a very interesting dynamic here where they're only giving up 4.1 yards per carry, 130 rushing yards per game. That's not that bad. So it actually matches up decently with, obviously, Georgia Tech wants to run the football quite a bit with Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, and that great offensive line, which has been good at opening up holes for the run game. They prefer to pass it less, but it's the secondary. It's the pass defense of NC State that's been absolutely atrocious. So, this could be a spot where Georgia Tech's, the one thing NC State's good at defensively is, a little bit at least containing the run. It's the pass that they've been shredded in. Not necessarily not exactly the style or the operating procedure that Georgia Tech wants to employ. They want to be run first, not pass first, but it's the pass defense that's been ripped. This could be a bit of a dangerous spot here for Georgia Tech just because NC State, for as bad as their defense is, CJ Bailey can move the football. They can still score points. Even in the 53-34 beatdown at the hands of Pitt last week where they got shredded for 423 through the air, CJ Bailey still had 225 passing yards. They ran for 159, led by Hollywood Smothers. So, you look at NC State here. I would be shocked if this is a game. And I love Georgia Tech. I love Haynes King. But NC State has been decent against the run. It's been the pass where they've been shredded. So necessarily might fit a little bit better against Georgia Tech style of offense. So maybe a lean to NC State here, plus 6.5. Just got a weird feeling that this this could be a close game. This could be one where Georgia Tech does struggle to get past a very game NC State Wolfpack team at home, and especially when you factor, I believe, and someone in the chat is alluding to it. No, actually, they don't have a look ahead. Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's got Boston College after this, so it isn't a look ahead. But like I said, I just get that feeling NC State is a home dog, might be able to stay inside the number. Not sure I'll bet it though. CMAC, what do you think?
I don't know if I can bet them here. This team's just been awful. Going back to when they lost to Virginia Tech at home, then they struggled with Notre Dame, and then they just got ripped in the air by Pitt, 53 points. But it seems like everyone is going to want Georgia Tech here, that this is just a layup. It's just, can NC State play a little bit of defense? They're going to need maybe some turnovers and to do some stuff in this game. And then the offense has to be good here with Bailey and others. So when you look at the defense, they're all right, I guess, against the run, 130 yards. Still, it seems like Georgia Tech could do what they want. And you're right, one of the worst teams against the pass, 278 yards for the NC State team. But Georgia Tech could still throw it. It seems to me this game gets over. Like when these two teams play, there's just usually a bunch of points. I know this total's up there, but I lean over. I think if you like Georgia Tech, take their team total maybe here. It seems like both. If they get as many points, they might not cover, but if they get over 30, they get their team total here.
All right, Penn State and Ohio State. We've got Ohio State 21-point home favorites, 43.5 the total. Let me be devil's advocate here. And placate me, please, when I say this. There's a boatload of point spread value in this number on Penn State. That is if you can trust them. And that is the issue. That's the question. Do you trust this team that's had this tumultuous season, disastrous season? Everybody knows they've fallen woefully short of expectations. James Franklin pays the price for it. As a result, you've got a makeshift interim coaching staff and I always say this, the late great Dave Malinsky always said this, and both teams are off a bye week for this matchup. The interim coaching staff oftentimes during a bye week, they're not focused on prepping for the next opponent. They're prepping on getting their resumes together and finding their next opportunity to work somewhere. And that's he always made a great point with that. Be careful betting off bye weeks with extra time to prepare interim coaching staffs, because where's their focus? Preparing their players for the next opponent at a place where they're probably not going to be at after this year, or focusing on, hey, let's see what's out there as far as the job market, after this year is concerned. Because we damn well know this interim staff is not sticking around. Penn State's going after paying someone big money to come in here as the new head coach. So that's the concern, is the coaching staff give two shits about prepping for Ohio State, when they know damn well they're not going to be back next year. But it's a huge shift in the number, because this was one of those preseason numbers that was widely available, game of the year, they call it, college football lines and point spreads. And Ohio State was like a single-digit favorite, in this game before the season. Now they're 21 because of everything that's happened. So you do have Penn State. The problem is you have Ohio State, too, with the extra time. I will say this, the Iowa game, first game with the coaching staff, the interim staff after James Franklin was let go, they were competitive, although they still, on offense, Grunkemeyer, the quarterback, still didn't even throw for
he was a very good
2 interceptions. All their offense was pretty much Katron Allen and his 145 rushing yards. Do we trust Katron Allen and Singleton to run the football against an Ohio State defense that this year is giving up 2.8 yards per carry, 85 rushing yards per game? Like, they have given up nothing on the ground this year. I don't. Dude. That's why, look, I get it. Boatload of value, point spread to Penn State here. But if they can't run the football, and there's a good chance they won't be able to, that's how good the Ohio State run defense has been. Grunkemeier's going to throw his way to keeping this team in the game? I don't think so. Not what I saw against Iowa. So it's a tough game. That's a game I'm not going to have any involvement in, probably. But there is value in Penn State if you can trust them. I can't. CMAC, what do you think?
I know. I don't think I can either with this quarterback. This is a ton of points. Like their defense is, I think, still pretty good. Could keep this game low scoring. One thing, Ohio State, the offense have been efficient. I don't think they haven't been flashy or
Julian
anything.
Sayin looked timid, nervous, and wasn't great against Texas that very first game. He's come a long way, but is he ready to just power this team to cover this number and win by more than 3 touchdowns? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, one thing I got to look here. Anybody Ohio State's played, the other team total under here. Penn State really get more than 10 points? I'm not so sure. Especially with Ohio State.
Yeah,
it's not like
half,
this is
10.5.
Yeah, 10.5.
Yep.
This would be different, I think. Ohio State was on the road, but at home, I like it even more. But maybe they just don't score a ton, here, 27 points, something like that. We'll see with Penn State. I don't think the kid looked very good, like you talked about. Like, to even have the lead, he had 2 picks. I talked about that in that game. But these teams hate each other. Penn State can never beat them. We all knew that, even when Franklin was there. So I don't know how they're going to do it now.
All right, Louisville and Virginia Tech. Louisville 10-point road favorites, 54 the total in this one. Louisville with they did give up some points and some yards last week in the victory against Boston College to Grayson James, but we did point out, a little bit of an uptick at quarterback since he took over. Louisville 6-1 on the season, yet just 2-5 against the spread this season, Louisville. And in this double-digit favorite role, I got to admit, it hasn't been great for Louisville. Eastern Kentucky, 38-point favorites, win, no cover. JMU, 15-point favorites, win, no cover. Bowling Green, 26.5-point favorites, win, no cover. 26-point favorites against Boston College, win, no cover. 0-4 against the spread. For as good as Jeff Brom's team's been straight up, 6-1, great season, big win against Miami, nice road win against Pittsburgh. They're 0-4 against the spread as double-digit chalk so far this season. I think I lean Virginia Tech here. I do. I mean, since the coaching change here with Brent Pry, we've seen this team beat NC State as a dog, competitive loss to Wake by 7. Georgia Tech, 35-20. They didn't cover, but I thought they hung in there against one of the better teams in the ACC, Georgia Tech there. Made a decent account for themselves. And then, of course, the Cal game, which was pretty crazy, back and forth, and eventually Virginia Tech outlasts Cal 42-34 in overtime. Yeah, Louisville, like I said, 0-4 ATS is double-digit favorites this year, and Virginia Tech's showing a little pulse. So, home underdog situation. It is an afternoon game, not a night game in Blacksburg, so that is not nearly as good of a home field for Virginia Tech in the afternoon as it is at night. But I think there's reasons to think that +10 Virginia Tech could be the way to go. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think so, too. Drones. That's the problem. Watching this guy
at quarterback
makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
To have money on him, he's going to make a horrible decision. But yeah, Louisville is just a little bit big favorite.
Last week, it was all the run game, by the way, against Cal.
Yeah. Louisville's been pretty good against the run all year, too. Their defense. But they get little lax day. Like, if you like Louisville, maybe they jump on them early. I think you only look at Louisville early. Obviously, they've struggled with some of these games on the road. And a lot of those were bigger spreads than this, too, those games you're talking about. But Virginia Tech off the win there, the crazy game on Friday night. Been playing better football. I'm leaning their way. I'm gonna wait on this one. I think it goes over maybe, but I don't know.
The biggest concern for me with taking Virginia Tech, I mean, Louisville's been a bad double-digit favorite, so I definitely still lean Virginia Tech, is that the run defense is pretty good for Louisville, and if they can't run it, Kyron Drones throwing his way to keeping you in the game, I'm not so sure, because that's how rough it's been, him throwing the football this year.
All Louisville's games have gone over this number, though, except Miami, right?
Yes.
Except, JMU, too.
Yeah.
JMU.
Except the JMU game, yeah. So I still do lean Virginia Tech, though, just because we're talking about a team that's been bad in this role as double-digit favorites this year. All right, Vanderbilt and Texas. Texas 1.5-point home favorites, 45 the total in this game. I give Texas credit. They were done, finished, out of it
Finito.
against Mississippi State. And they get off the deck. Now, Mississippi State were the authors of their own demise. So many mistakes.
Yeah, holy shit.
Touchdown as well. Terrible job. Terrible, brutal loss for Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State. But you do have to give Texas credit. They willed themselves back into it. Arch Manning finally, it took him a while, took him forever, but it finally got, on a bit of a roll, leading the offense late in the game. And actually, to be honest with you, even early in that game, he played pretty well. Also, and he's starting to progress. That was a good game by his standards, because he hasn't had many games this year where he's thrown for 346 passing yards. But Arch Manning had that in the stunning comeback to win in overtime against Mississippi State. Thankfully, I had Mississippi State above 7, so I still hung on for it last week in that game against Texas. So we'll take it. But now Texas got to play this very physical, in-your-face Vanderbilt team, a team that has definitely given you one hard, tough effort week in and week out this season. Last year, it was a down-to-the-wire game. Vanderbilt was a 17-point dog, lost by 3, 27-24 to Texas in that game. Vanderbilt looking for a little redemption here in this game. Now, Vanderbilt hasn't faced a team on the road. Most of their tougher games have been at home outside of the Alabama game. The LSU win, the Missouri win last week, 17-10. We'll see how it plays out here but they also did get a break with Pabula's injury in that game for Missouri last week, and certainly Vanderbilt kind of took advantage of that a little bit. I love Vandy in the underdog role. Now this is a little different. They got to win the game in order to cover the number, but it's still Vandy or pass for me. As much as Arch Manning was better last week, Mississippi State still a little soft on defense, and I think they played a little too passive with the big lead, and it ended up, as usual, biting them in the ass. Bites every team in the ass when they play that way defensively with a big lead.
Prevents you from winning.
Yeah, defense prevents you from winning. Exactly. We've said that for years. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if I bet it. Numbers in a pretty good spot, but Texas has been off all year, in my opinion. Should have lost last week. And what if they do lose last week? What if Mississippi State hangs on and wins that game? Could Vanderbilt maybe be favored in this game if Mississippi State had won and beaten Texas last week? There's a potential for that, in my opinion. So, yeah, I lean Vanderbilt here. Don't know if I bet it, though. CMAC, Vanderbilt, Texas, lean under as well.
And Vanderbilt just keeps winning. I mean, what if they have a few losses here? This seems like they'd be getting 3.5 or more, I think, here. Texas has been playing a little bit better. So that's where I just don't think the value is. But they just played it in a tight game. And I think they could win this year. It's not going to be easy. I want is the under. This total, I think, is right here, though. Right on. I don't have a lot of wiggle room in this game because I think Vandy, when they're at their best.
By the way, Arch Manning's in concussion protocol as well.
Yeah, he would. Keep
an eye on that. Questionable at the moment for this game.
Who gives a shit if he's in? I don't. Like, who would you rather have, Manning or Pavia? Tell him.
Right now, Pavia. Just toughness, everything. Matt Caldwell is in line to start if somehow Manning does not play here. And by the way, Caldwell was taking all the reps yesterday. Yesterday, earlier today for Texas. Took all the first-team reps. So there's a chance it's a Matthew Caldwell game coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we know they just got in a shootout, but I think Texas defense is pretty good. And Vandy, I mean, his teams, that's what I think they improved the most. 30th overall, 13th against the run, 70th against the pass. And I think they do a good job on offense. I always talk about how they slow it down, control the ball there, and just bleed the clock. So I was looking at this game that it'd be lower scoring. I just thought the number's right where it probably should be. So I'm not getting a lot of value at all.
All right, Rutgers and Illinois. We've got Illinois 12-point home favorite, 63 the total. It's over or pass with Rutgers involved. That being said, they did see their game against Purdue stay under last week. It was a weird game, right? These teams were moving the ball, and they fumbled chances to score early. And then the offense started to really get going late in that game, but it was too late. There were too many empty possessions, empty trips early in the game, and it helped keep that Rutgers-Purdue game stay under the total. That being said, I mean, Purdue still gained a good, healthy chunk of yards. The Rutgers offense, Kaliak-Manis had 359 passing yards against Purdue in that game. I think Rutgers defense, too, is going to struggle here with a very, very capable Illinois offense. I know they lost to Washington 42-25, but I think Luke Altmaier and the Illinois attack should find it a lot easier here against this very soft Rutgers defense. That being said, Illinois' defense all of a sudden, 32 allowed to Illinois, the 63 to Indiana, the 34 to Ohio State, 42 to Washington in the loss last week. Brett Bielema's defense has kind of regressed, declined, gotten worse, not better by the week. And Rutgers can still put up points. We've seen that throughout the course of the season. So I'm leaning to, I definitely lean over. That's the way it is for me with Rutgers games this season until proven otherwise. They've only had 2 unders on the year. Both of them were close to going over. Maybe we take 12 with Rutgers here. I'll say this. I know Purdue has had problems with turnovers and problems finishing drives, but it was a step forward for Rutgers' horrific defense, in my opinion, the performance against Purdue, that maybe, just maybe, they could hang within 12. You got Illinois now coming off that blowout loss to Washington. That's now 3 Big Ten losses. Forget about anything to do with contending to win the conference. It's out the window now. Illinois is going to be getting a mediocre bowl game. That's going to be the prize for their season. So you wonder about, where they're at psychologically, Illinois, a little bit, especially these last 2 games, ripped apart by Ohio State and Washington. I would not be shocked in the least if Rutgers makes a game of this. Lean to the Rutgers side, plus 12. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think the spot here is good for Illinois, but I don't think they should be, even at home, trust laying these points.
Yep.
I think if you like Illinois, I think the game gets over. We're a little bit high with the total, but I think it could still get there. You just look at their team total. I think it's around 35, right around that area for Illinois. But it seems like Rutgers should be able to move the ball. The secondary has been the problem all year with it. Who's been in and out.
Yep.
Everything with a lot of this defense, but with Illinois secondary. So, yeah, I think they're live. I have not bet Rutgers much this year. I could even tell you I might have been on an over or two, but I think this is the week that they could be live here. Just because they could be throwing the ball, even the back door in this game could be open.
All right, next up, we've got another Big Ten matchup, Michigan State and Minnesota. Minnesota, 3.5-point home favorites, 44 the total in this game. I'm right in line with the money move. And I already bet this one. I'm on Michigan State. I actually think Michigan State can win this game outright. I mean, I don't like Minnesota as a favorite, flat out. I don't.
Yeah.
They haven't been good as favorites all year. Buffalo covered at Minnesota as a favorite. We've seen plenty of examples where Rutgers covered on the road at Minnesota. Minnesota was laying 4. They only won by 3. I think Michigan State, their defense is still a little suspect for Michigan State, but Minnesota, when they faced good offenses with a pulse, they have struggled themselves to get stops. And when you look at this matchup, I also think Aiden Childs might be the better quarterback. I'm not the biggest fan of Drake Lindsey. He can look good sometimes and look, mediocre at other times. And Michigan State, we've started to see them now. This is where we like Jonathan Smith, the great head coach for Michigan State. We like him in the dog role. He was good in the dog role at Oregon State when he was there. And he's now starting to cover some numbers and cash tickets in the dog role here. Nebraska game, the Michigan game last week. Underdog winners for Michigan State. I think they're very live. I think they could win outright here because Minnesota's not got the most dominant, strong home field by any stretch of the imagination. But the 3.5, sign me up. Field goal game at worst, in my opinion, for the Spartans here. C-Mac, what do you think? Michigan State, Minnesota.
Yeah, this is why I can't take Minnesota, even though I think they could bounce back at home. This team can't run ball.
No,
They just when you're a team that's just built this way,
they're supposed to.
and
With
you
Darius
can't.
Taylor, they can't open the damn holes for him. That's the issue.
You're 118th.
Nowhere to go.
Right? They didn't do anything last week. Again. I mean, that makes them have to throw the ball. I don't love it at all. I think their defense is still pretty good, and if they maybe a bunch of turnovers.
Not have a great run defense, but what's going to give there?
Yeah, they don't. But I mean, they're not horrible. Or they give 145, 149.
Not terrible. Not great, but not the worst either. Yeah.
Yeah, Michigan State. This team's just hung in some games, so I could see it being in this
field goal game. That's what I think. Hopefully, yeah.
You might be right.
Yeah.
I took my money. I got my money last week with Michigan State. I might stay off, but I'm going to look at this one.
They've covered 4 in a row as an underdog. Michigan State at USC.
Oh, they're the backdoor kings.
At Indiana.
Have you seen them all?
Against Indiana and the backdoor at Michigan, or at home against.
Last play of the game, basically. I think there was 5 seconds. So.
Yep.
This team, if you have the lead, they're coming down the field at the end.
Yeah. Spartans for me in that game. All right, next up we've got Arizona State, Iowa State, Big 12 action. We've got both of these teams off very disappointing losses. Iowa State, 5.5-point home favorites, 50.5 the total in this game. This is where Kenny Dillingham's coaching. This is where we see if it comes through, because he's got to keep these troops, excited and happy, and because now they're on the outside looking in, I think, as far as winning the Big 12 and the playoff. And remember, this was a playoff team last year. They're not probably going to the playoff this year, Arizona State.
Playoffs.
And that, to me, that's why when you go to the playoff last year and win the Big 12, and now you're probably not going to be able to do either this year, win the Big 12 or make the college football playoff. Does disappointment lead to poor performance and greater lack of preparation for Arizona State? You have to ask yourself that, because that was like an eliminator type of loss against Houston on Saturday. Not that I'm shocked by it. I liked Houston plus the points. I think CMAC was kind of looking in that direction as well. It was a troublesome spot after the huge monster win against Texas Tech. And look, that was definitely a team, that enjoyed that win against Texas Tech a little bit too much, because to be down 24-0 at one point in that game against Houston at home, that's why I'm worried here. And I like Kenny, but clearly did not have his kids ready, and the kids weren't ready against Houston. They actually fought back, give them credit. They didn't quit. They made it interesting late in the game, cut the lead to 8, but too little too late. You can't dig yourself that kind of deficit, and Arizona State did. And they ended up paying the price for it. 24-16 loss to Houston. But Iowa State now has lost 3 in a row. Great spot for them off a bye against BYU. Started out well, 17-7 after the first quarter, but they get outscored.
I think it was 24-10
in the second half. Complete defensive collapse by the Cyclones.
And that special teams off the foot.
Yeah.
But and then the pick.
Yeah.
That's about as bad as a fourth quarter or a little longer than that I have seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Just total collapse, all phases of the game.
I got to give Kalani Sitake, Bear Bachmeier, and this BYU team credit. I keep thinking, you know what, they're going to stumble. It's at some point they just keep winning. Devil magic. They make things happen. They get big plays. They end up obviously. The quarterback play has been good. He's been throwing it. He's been running it. These 2 receivers that they have, Parker Kingston, BYU, and the other guy who's been there, like we talked about forever, Chase Roberts. Tremendous receivers for them. They're a damn good team. I'm done betting against them. Thankfully, I got to my senses. I said, I'm sick of losing money beating BYU. Sick of it. I can't just keep betting against this team thinking, oh, this is the spot they're going to lose. Oh, this is the spot they're going to get exposed. They haven't gotten exposed. They keep finding ways to win BYU. So, yeah, we're off that thought process of fading BYU. And Iowa State figured that out last week in that game. So I don't know what you want. As you can tell, I don't really want much to do here with this game. Who do you trust? I mean, these teams are pretty much out of the Big 12 mix now. I think Arizona State's still the better team. So maybe I lean plus 5.5, but not with a great deal of confidence. What do you think here, Connor?
That's how I feel. Like I don't know if I bet it, but I take Arizona
And they're good
State.
in the dog roll. Better in the
They're
dog
good in
roll.
the dog roll. I think they have the better defense a little bit here. Both these teams have showed
And
like
when Sam Levitt's on
been
his
good
game,
and bad.
he can be the better quarterback too. Yeah.
Well, the problem, no, Tyson is just they don't have any other playmakers, other than him.
Right.
And like when he's in, he's just chucking it to him, and he's still out here with his hamstring. So that's a little bit of the
That was a
issue. But I
big
do
loss
like them.
against Houston. Without him, the passing game was just totally out of sorts. Yep.
He was he finished. They get all those kind of points late. Like he's talking about 18 to 35. I mean, it's 50%. He had the one touchdown. But I do with them with the points. Iowa State, I mean, they're at home again. I just laying points with them. No way. No way. Dog here, nothing. Arizona State.
All right, UCF.
Their defense could keep him in this game, I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. All right, UCF and Baylor. We've got Baylor 4.5-point home favorites total here. I mean, give me UCF here. Baylor, that defense laying points. Are you kidding? Now, I shouldn't say that for sure. Like, take UCF. Let's make sure they have the quarterback I want in there, because if it's the two stiffs that Scott Frost has at his disposal, Ja'Cory Brown, he can't throw a forward pass, and Cam Fancher's terrible. I don't want those two guys. We'll see. It looks like Fancher is definitely out for this game. Once again, the starting. Okay, it will be. It looks like Taven Jackson. He's the one guy worth a shit in that quarterback room for UCF. Taven Jackson, the Indiana transfer. So if he's in, I'm taking UCF here, plus 4.5. I mean, there's no way I'm trusting this Baylor defense. How many times do we have to wait for them to get better, wait for them to make a play, wait for them to make a stop, wait for them to, get some kind of big-time defensive stand, and they just never get that. Absolutely destroyed by Cincinnati and TCU in their back-to-back losses. And look at how awful they've been from a point spread standpoint. They've still only covered once this year. They're 4-4 straight up, but 1-7 against the spread. And that one point spread cover was at SMU, 48-45. I feel bad for Sawyer. Sawyer Robertson, the quarterback, is a pretty good player, but he just cannot overcome a defense that just gives up points every time they're on the field. And that's what it's gotten to with this Baylor team. So give me UCF. Jackson looks like he's going to be the quarterback. He's the best quarterback UCF's got. And quite honestly, most quarterbacks in the country are going to find their way to moving the ball and scoring points against this horrific Baylor defense right now. So UCF plus 4.5 for me. Lean over as well. How do you bet a Baylor game anything but over these days? C-Mac, what do you think here? UCF, Baylor.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I think it goes over. I think this is pretty cheap here at this number that it could get there. And yes, no way, no how with that defense they should be laying points. Just no way. Even at home.
They're off a bye week, too, UCF. Makes the spot even better for them.
Again, no way, no how. I agree. UCF.
All right, next up we've got, as we continue along here, Cincinnati and Utah staying in the Big 12. Utah 7.5-point home favorites, 56.5 the total here in this game. Like I said, this is the best quarterback play I've ever seen out of Brendan Sorsby, who, again, was Indiana Hoosiers fans had Sorsby and Michael Penix Jr. as their quarterback at one time, and now I've seen both of those guys move on elsewhere and become tremendous quarterbacks. And Sorsby's playing great. There's no doubt about that for this Cincinnati Bearcats offense. 42 points in the victory. Now, as we just talked about, terrible Baylor defense, but no, he's been doing this all year. Cincinnati and Sorsby leading this offense. So now here's their test, though. Saturday night, it's also a late game. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, Saturday night in Salt Lake City at Bryce Eccles Stadium, one of the toughest home fields in college football. And Utah got their mojo back after the tough loss to BYU. They put the fucking hammer down on poor Deion Sanders and Colorado, 53-7. My goodness, last week in that game. A Devin Dampier show. Insane. Actually, it wasn't Devin Dampier. It was Bird Ficklin. Bird. Bird is the word. Yeah, Bird Ficklin for Utah.
Bird.
A great runner, which I didn't know about till I watched that game. 151 rushing yards. Wayshawn Barker at 140. I mean, the run defense. I mean, gosh, the run 422 rushing yards for Utah against Colorado. That was just sickening if you're a Colorado Buffaloes fan. I mean, just horrendous, non-existent run defense. And that's the key here. Obviously, we'll have to see if Dampier suits up in this game for Utah. But it looks like as of now he's questionable. Kyle Whittingham has not ruled him out. He says his ankle's feeling better each day, but they'll take more time through the week to assess his health. So we'll see about this. Obviously, there's a better chance here with Dampier at quarterback. That being said, you look at the Cincinnati defense here, and against the run, they've actually been decent, serviceable. 3.9 yards per carry, 140 per game. It's like middle of the pack, their run defense. And that's what you have to look at when you play Utah. This is a very fascinating game. Because I don't know how great Cincy is. I don't. I think they're pretty good. They've had a much better season than I thought. I thought they weren't going to be very good. I thought Satterfield was on the hot seat. They've had a much better season than I thought, 7-1. But then you look at the schedule, right? Baylor, Oklahoma State.
I was gonna say, look at these two road games.
Yeah.
It's Oak State and Kansas.
And Kansas.
Kansas is not very good.
Kansas,
No
look at, they got destroyed by Kansas State.
Yeah.
Couldn't stop Kansas State last week. This is the pedal meets the metal game, the true litmus test for those Bearcats. You're getting a lot of points. They're playing great. Sorsby's looking good. Everything says that there's great value here. Take Cincy with the way they're playing, and who knows if Dampier's even going to play. But something tells me, wait a minute, Utah favored by this much when Dampier may not even play, maybe for a reason, and we know that home field is no joke. We know it, especially late on a Saturday night. That can be a tough place to play. So it's a very tough game for me to pick a side. You know, I initially leaned Cincy, especially with Dampier's status up in the air, but that home field, man, it takes a lot for me to want to bet against Utah in this stadium. Mac, what do you think?
That's what I think. I just think they haven't played any good defense at all as Cincinnati. That's the thing, and I'm waiting for so even though they play well, this team is won. The offenses look pretty good, but I'm thinking he's due for a shitty game, stinker, as they say. And this is not an easy place to do it. You've already mentioned. I don't know if it matters who plays quarterback. I think it's Utah. You know, with it, maybe I look at their team total. That was a one play, and I look up and it's 43-0. Savannah. We talked about. I did take Utah's team total, which was just 30.5 the full game. I didn't take it. I stayed off the game, and the score was 43-0. And I'm like, God damn.
You know what's funny? The Heisman Trophy hype machine has started to crank up after that Baylor game for Brendan Sorsby. You know what that means? This is the week.
No way.
Falls apart, right?
He's 0 on the Heisman. Sure. No, 0.
Gaudy numbers against Sisters of the Poor defenses. That's what it,
I mean, hats off to him.
Yeah.
Like shit. They're 7-1. If you go against the number, but yeah, weak teams.
I got that sneaking suspicion Utah wins by double digits. That's just me, but we'll see how this one plays out. All right, next up we've got Arizona and Colorado. Arizona 4.5-point road favorites. I don't want Colorado. I'm done. See you later, Dion. Not a chance I'm putting any. I actually took Colorado for a small bet against Utah last week. That's how bad that was. I was, disgusted what I saw from Colorado in that game. No chance. I know they're back at home. They're a home dog, but the injuries are mounting. Caden Salter was a big part of the problem too for Colorado. Just not been very good, consistent, explosive, dynamic for this team, leading them at the quarterback spot. Arizona, has been some good, some bad from them in their recent play under Brent Brennan, no question about that. But like I said, this Colorado team, with what I've seen, it's difficult to trust them. And the one thing too about Arizona coming into this game, they've got Fafita, who's a quarterback that can obviously make it happen. It's a defense that we know got ripped apart, especially on the ground last week, and Arizona off a bye week. That's another plus for Arizona following the tough loss against Houston. And I thought that actually their last two losses, like a competitive game against BYU, they lost in overtime, and then they lost at Houston by 3. So Arizona off a bye, I definitely lean Arizona here. I don't know if I bet it, but it's Arizona or nothing. One-way game for me. C-Mac, what do you think?
I mean, that is a positive for Arizona. There's no way I could back them. This is ugly. Everything we just watched.
Yeah.
They'd be like, everyone take Arizona. It's just how bad Colorado is. But I think they're the play here. I really do.
The wagons time.
I think it is. I mean, nobody wants them. They were just horrific. They're back here at home. This is at least where they
did
play.
cover 2 in a row as a home dog. I will say that. BYU, Iowa State for Colorado. Yep.
I do think Arizona still is a little bit better, but I just don't think it's going to be an easy spot for them. So it sucks as a quarterback.
Arizona can be flighty. I think the more I think about it, I'm not, like I said, I could only look at Arizona. Doesn't mean I'm going to.
Yeah. No. In Colorado, it's just the struggles continue. The defense at times, as talked about, it looks horrible. I mean, and it's getting worse against the run. Arizona 142 on the ground, so they should have success. But I think this game could be close. So look out.
All right, Washington State and Oregon State next up. We've got Wazoo, 3.5-point road favorites, 49.5 total here in this game. Zevi Eckhouse, man, thank you to him. Great game. Cashed a ticket with Washington State against Toledo. I'm still shocked. The money came in on Toledo as well.
I couldn't believe that. I was shocked too.
Really? We're gonna put Toledo out there as a road favorite against Washington State. Toledo with Jason Candle. That guy doesn't beat big time teams. That guy is not reliable. I mean, well, thank you for the gift from the odds makers and the betting markets. Yeah, I like this Washington State team a lot. I don't know if I like them here in this spot necessarily nearly as much against Oregon State coming off a bye week. And remember, there's been a coaching change here at Oregon State as well. And but again, they beat down Lafayette 45-13. But I don't know if that's a sign they're going to go on a late season surge, Oregon State. But let's be honest, they were supposed to be better than this 1-7 record. They really were. There were a lot of people thinking they were going to have an improved season, and they are off a bye. They are off a bye, extra time to prepare. Malik Murphy, Anthony Hankerson running the ball. There's still some talent. Their defense is still not very good. And I could see them struggling with this pretty good Washington State offense. And it is a nice spot off a bye at home. Usually we've wanted to back Oregon State at home over the years, especially as a home dog. But I can't step in front of Washington State. I just think they're the better team. They're playing well.
That's what I think.
Covered 4 in a row against some really good teams, too. Ole Miss down to the wire, 24-21. Virginia down to the wire, 22-20. Dominant win against a good MAC team. Toledo, 28-7. Zevi Eckhouse playing with confidence. The defense is getting better, a lot better for Washington State as well in recent weeks.
I know. Come on now.
They're better than Oregon State. They're rolling ATS. I can't fade them. Doesn't mean I'm on them, but for me, it's Wazoo or pass. C-Mac, what do you think?
This team gave up back-to-back 59s. This defense in September. I think they've looked a lot better, and they are the better team. This game's Washington State's kind of beat up on Oregon State, but these games over the years have always been pretty close. Oregon, I know they're at home. I can't back them. There's just there's problems in Corvallis,
There are.
Interim
coaching staff, who knows them. And they did.
Yeah, and nothing's right.
Yeah, this Jimmy Rogers was a good hire for Washington State. Guy from South Dakota State.
Yeah,
Before, yeah.
I totally agree. And but like all 3 phases, watching Oregon State this year, it's just like the special team sucks, and like the offense doesn't, and then they're horrible in terms of or the defense is just. But yeah, it'd be Washington State. Maybe you just take a money line here if you're worried about laying the.
This is a CBS game, by the way, like the main CBS network Saturday night. This game, kind of weird, kind of bizarre that this gets the CBS treatment on Saturday night. Washington State and Oregon State.
This used to be pretty good games.
Yes,
these teams aren't. Yeah, they ain't very good now. So yeah,
Washington State's improving. Like I said, to take Ole Miss and Virginia on the road, right down to the wire. And then beat down Toledo last week. No, the
defense has been the most impressive
on Washington State.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Definitely the defensive improvement has been a big part of it. All right, Virginia and Cal. Virginia, 3.5, 4-point road favorites, 3.5, 54.5, the total in this game. This is not late night Saturday out in Berkeley for Cal, so they don't get the same advantage they normally would, when a team would play late at night traveling east. And I'll tell you this right now, from a spot perspective, I think there's a brutal spot for not Virginia, but for Cal. Cal was on the field for how many freaking plays against Virginia Tech last week in that overtime game? That game went on forever, struggled mightily, and then to kick in the nuts, losing that game, and that was on the heels of getting blown out in the game before that against Duke. I don't know. They look like a team that, running out of gas, defense especially. I don't know what's happened to Justin Wilcox's Cal defense, but 45 to Duke, 42 to Virginia Tech. They couldn't gain separation from North Carolina, so now they failed to cover in 3 straight games. Put it this way, since beating Minnesota by 13 here at home in September, they're 2-3 straight up their last 5 games, 1-4 against the spread, losing to San Diego State, Duke, and Virginia Tech. And their victories were a Boston College team that's falling apart by 4, and then North Carolina by 3. So they kind of feel like they're running on fumes a little bit, Cal. I like Jaron Kiave Sagapolutele, but there's been a little more inconsistency and mistakes in his game. Virginia struggled with North Carolina, struggled with Washington State, but no, I just think with what I'm seeing from this Cal defense in recent games, they're really starting to crumble a bit on that side of the football. And that could be problematic here against what's still, in my opinion, a very good, very balanced Virginia offense that could do damage here against this suddenly declining California defense. So
what's happened to the defense?
Yeah, I know exactly. I think it's Virginia or nothing. I'm not saying I'm running to lay 3.5 on the road, on the West Coast, but Cal with the loss to Duke, the narrow win against North Carolina, going all out and losing in gut-wrenching fashion in overtime at Virginia Tech, and now back home. I think it's a tough spot for Cal. It's Virginia or nothing. C-Mac, what do you think?
I know. I just hate the schedule. Again, they coming back now and playing, and then just how the defense has looked at times, this Cal team. Because I think they played good, too, at times, the defense. It's like, what happened in the Duke game? Like I'm like scarred from that a little bit. Like they were winning. I think they were up by 10 or 14, and then they got killed. Because this is a spot I want. I want Cal here. I'd rather have Cal at home as a dog, but it's been a struggle. The offense too, and you know what? This is another team we talked about. Minnesota earlier. This Cal football team. It was last year too. They cannot run the football. Period. 87 yards. They're 133rd in the country. They just can't run it.
Totally
you can't run it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Totally one-dimensional. So that's just they just can't run. So offensive line, one thing as a lineman too. You love to run block. Pass blocking sucks. You want to run block and shoot off the line. It's easy. So get it together, Cal. So that's it here. Next.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's one of these situations that, like I said, very, very interesting to see how this plays out. But it's worry about gassing out after that overtime game against Virginia Tech. What's left in the tank there for Cal? All right, Pitt and Stanford. We got Pitt 14-point road favorites, 51.5 the total here in this game. It's a lot of points to be laying with Pitt, on the road. And although I like what I'm seeing out of, obviously, the quarterback that's taken over here, Mason Heinschel. He continues to play great. 6-2 they are straight up in ATS. They are covering numbers, and they've been shown the ability to win by margin 2 weeks in a row. 30-13 at Syracuse, 53-34 last week against NC State. Just a beat down there on the Wolfpack. That offense is absolutely rolling right now for Pitt. Stanford was tied, believe it or not, tied 7-7 with Miami at halftime. And then they proceeded to not score again and give up 35 points in the second half and lose 42-7. And yeah, I did have Stanford plus 30.5. I did have a piece of that. So I
That
didn't
had to
enjoy
fucking be hurt.
very much.
Come on.
No, yeah.
7-7.
And you don't cover as 30.5-point favorites. 7-7 at halftime, and you don't cover as 30.5-point underdogs. So
that's the one thing I worry about here, real quick, is the offense.
Yeah.
Like, they just can't score. They can't move the ball. I don't love Pitt's defense. I think they could hang around in this game, but seeing them not be able to score,
yeah,
and their defense still is bad. Like, it's played better. I got to give it to Stanford at times. They're still, the pass defense is horrible. They're not very good.
I still lean over in this game because I think Pitt's going to score on Stanford. They're just playing too well.
They're just playing, yeah,
too well. But I think Stanford at home can do enough. They can get going. Remember, Stanford was scoring a bit before that Miami game. A little bit.
Yes, a little bit. I mean, yeah, and they only had 8 first downs against Miami. Like, they got that touchdown and just nothing else in the game. Like, 8 first downs. I mean, Goldberg, whoever was in a quarterback, or Brown.
Yes.
I mean, 89 yards, you had 2 picks. But this just seems like Pitt get in and get out a little bit, you know? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's over Pitt team total over. But I think Stanford can chip in a little bit here in this game when it comes to the score. I really do. I think they'll be better than they showed against Miami. They were showing some signs of upward improvement offensively before playing Miami, and you hope against a weaker defense that's going to show here. All right, Texas Tech, Kansas State. We've got Texas Tech 7.5-point road favorites, 53 the total here in this Big 12 matchup. And of course, we've got a lot to mention here regarding the Texas Tech Red Raiders going into this game. Obviously, Will Hammond started last week for Texas Tech because Baron Morton was still injured. And sure enough, Will Hammond ends up getting hurt last week for Texas Tech. And it ends up being a situation where they have to finish with the third quarterback on the depth chart in that game last week against Oklahoma. Now, it was Oklahoma State they played, so it didn't matter. They were already up big. But nevertheless, Will Hammond couldn't finish that game, and they went to Mitch Griffiths the rest of the way. I think that guy played at Wake in the past, but they went to him at quarterback for Texas Tech. But the good news is
that him? The Griffiths guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He played at Wake a few years ago.
Yeah.
But he finished the game for Texas Tech. There was obviously Will Hammond's done for the season. It was a significant injury. He's out for that's unfortunate. He's been one of the better backup quarterbacks in the country. But there is good news for Texas Tech. Baron Morton is good to go and will be back for this game against Kansas State. So they will have Baron Morton for this big matchup against Kansas State, and an offense that certainly with him under center, it's been great. 69% completions, 1,500 passing yards in 6 games, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year for Baron Morton. He's been great. This offense is humming every single week. Defense, it's interesting because, the defense has been awesome. We still remember them shutting down Utah, Houston, Kansas. They had a very good defensive game, shut out Oklahoma State. They did give up some points to Arizona State and Sam Leavitt. That's the one game where Texas Tech's been giving up points so far this season. How will they fare here against Kansas State? That's the question. And look, what I've seen from Kansas State since their the last few games makes me think they could be live here. They have clearly hit their stride later in the year after a very disappointing start. UCF win by 2 touchdowns. They lost a heartbreaker back and forth to Baylor, beat TCU 41-28, beat Kansas 42-17, 4 straight point spread covers for the Wildcats after that slow start. I kind of want to back them here, plus 7.5. Texas Tech lost as a road favorite to Arizona State just a few weeks ago. But what I can't get over and why I have not moved on Kansas State and why I might not move on them is because this is the most dominant run defense statistically in the country, Texas Tech. No one has given up fewer yards per rush, yards per game on the ground than Texas Tech. And if Kansas State can't get Dylan Edwards in that run game going, I do not, under any circumstance, trust Avery Johnson to throw his way to victory against Texas Tech. I don't. If they can't run it, and I have a feeling that maybe they can't run it against this vaunted run defense, it might be tough sledding for the K-State offense. That's the one thing kind of holding me back at the moment from taking Kansas State here, plus the 7.5 at home. C-Mac, what do you think here?
Yeah, they're nobody's really ran it. Kansas State, I think, it's got better running the football. Their defense is like, to me, this is Texas Tech team total or just the full game over. Like if K-State gets a little bit, because I think this is light. I wanted to look real quick at the weather. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
so
good.
It just seems like they're going to give up.
Over machine right now, 4 straight.
Oh, I know.
Over the total. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't love Johnson. We talked about that, but they've looked a lot better as of late. So, and what are we going to keep getting the same Texas Tech? And if we do, it'll be the defense. That would keep this under. If they're going to go and win 35-10 again, like they did at Utah and at Houston. I believe that was a similar score, right?
Yep. Yeah,
35-11.
Yep.
So if that happens, it can stay under. But I think you just roll with Texas Tech's team total here.
All right, next up, we've got Miami and SMU. Miami, 11-point road favorites, 50.5 the total here in this game. So, yeah, Miami's the better team. I get it. Miami obviously coming off the bounce back from the Louisville loss and took care of Stanford, but took care of Stanford in the second half. Let's not forget that game was tied 7-7 at halftime in that game. Has SMU been disappointing? Yeah, I guess you could say that. The loss to TCU, the loss to Baylor. They obviously lost as favorites last week against Wake Forest for their third loss of the season. They're pretty much out of the mix as far as winning the ACC is concerned. But I have that feeling for a home game against the Miami Hurricanes. It's not going to take much for Rhett Lashley's team to be amped up, ready to go for this game. Give me SMU here, plus 11. I'm not trusting Miami in this role on the road. SMU, I think, shows up here, makes a game of this. I think it's a close one. C-Mac, what do you think?
You don't want Cristobal as a double-digit favorite on the road? Come on. You know what I think? It's just SMU's at home. If this was a road game, because I think they could be live. But if they do, I think it's lower scoring. After just watching them play, that Wake game, bunch of mistakes, so they got to be better. And if they do here, because their team total's 20.5.
They've still only played one road game this year. Can you believe that? It's October. It's like November
Miami,
1st on Saturday. This is going to be Miami's second road game this year.
Second road game, yeah. We're almost November.
Yep.
And wow, there will be in November, right? Or is this Halloween this night?
Yeah, Saturday will be November 1st. Yep.
It'll be November 1st, yeah.
Second road game. That's it for Miami this. Yeah.
I still like their defense. So, but I don't trust the offense, and I don't trust Beck. I just don't. He's got some playmakers, but we already saw him blow up against Louisville. I talk about it all the time. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. I mean, I guess he's all right in college football standards. So, yep, I agree with you here. Under.
All right, next up, we've got West Virginia and Houston. Yeah, this is going to be a pass for me just for the sake of time. I'm not going to have anything on this game. Houston got my win with them last week. I love them in the underdog role. I don't like them as much when they're laying 14.5 like this, but gosh almighty, right now to bet West Virginia, it's not an easy bet to make because they have had an injury-depleted season, injury-riddled season, injury-marred season. We knew it was going to be a struggle even if they were fully healthy in the first year under Rich Rodriguez. He just needs time to get his system and his players in place. But certainly it's been a struggle. They did battle TCU last week, 23-17, as 16.5-point underdogs. We'll see if that can continue here against Houston. You look at the situation here. West Virginia's offense still obviously a work in progress. There's no doubt. And Houston, all season long, they've had a pretty good defense. How much success will West Virginia have moving the football? That's going to be the question. We did start to see, I'll say this for the West Virginia side, they made a quarterback switch to Scotty Fox Jr. Did throw for 301 yards last week against TCU. We'll see if he once again is able to get the start here for West Virginia in this game, but he certainly showed some ability to take shots down the field vertically in the passing game. But right now they've got Jalen Henderson listed as questionable, and like I said, Scotty Fox Jr. Ended up, coming in there and throwing the ball a bunch. Does that earn him another start? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, probably a game I'm not involved in. C-Mac, what do you think here? West Virginia, Houston.
I don't know if I get involved here too. Houston, I just love their defense a little bit. So maybe big win. Now you come back home. This just seems flat. Spot. West Virginia, I thought they kind of played their game. They were at home for that and covered. I mean, I looked at them last week against TCU, and they played a lot better. This defense still isn't great. It's a Houston team that doesn't light it up. So I think they could hang around in this game. If it is, I think it's got to be lower scoring like they just did against TCU. So they got to get some kind of play from this defense this week.
Kentucky, Auburn. We've got Auburn 11-point home favorites, 47 the total here in this game. That was an absolute, I don't know what it was, that Auburn-Arkansas game. It was a combination of Auburn came back and stole it, and Arkansas just coughed it up, choked it away, whichever way you want to call it. But Auburn comes back, beats Arkansas 33-24 last week in Fayetteville for that elusive first SEC conference win after so many painful defeats. Oklahoma game, they were right there and lost. Texas A&M game, they were right there and lost. Georgia, great first half, couldn't get it done in the second half. And then the Missouri game, heartbreaker, losing in overtime. Auburn finally gets an SEC win, but now they're laying 11. Hello. Not at this point spread range do I want this Auburn team. We'll see what Kentucky can do. Kentucky, obviously, off the blowout loss to Tennessee, but they were competitive before that against Texas. So we'll see how they fare here in this matchup. They've only played 2 road games this year, and unfortunately, both of them ugly losses. 35-14 at Georgia, 35-13 at South Carolina. That being said, I don't know how you trust Auburn. I don't trust Auburn in this kind of a point spread range. Now, here's the thing with Cutter Boley. Cutter Boley for Kentucky has been decent at times at home. In fact, pretty solid at times at home. But on the road, this guy's been a bit of a nightmare. And that Georgia game, that South Carolina game, those 2 road games, he struggled. I remember the South Carolina game. I took Kentucky as a road underdog, and he had 2 interceptions and only 124 passing yards. So that's my one fear. But I do lean Kentucky. I can't lay 11 with Auburn. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think he takes care of the ball there in this game. I like Kentucky. I know they just got their ass drilled. Now, one thing, Auburn's really good against the run. They only give up 84 yards. And on the other side, Kentucky, their defense is pretty soft, the secondary. They're giving up over, 250 a game, right around over 110th in the country. But Auburn doesn't really throw it. This is a team that, averages 170 yards throwing the ball. So I don't think they're going to be that too scared there. So after the big win, give me Kentucky here. I'll take the points.
Mississippi State and Arkansas. We've got Arkansas 4.5-point home favorites, 67.5 the total here in this game. Just a quick weather check. Weather's fine. Over then. 100% in this game. I think there's points, lots of points. I think it's going to be high scoring. Mississippi State, what a horrific defensive collapse to lose to Texas in overtime, even though they played great. And actually, they played pretty good on defense for about 2.5 to 3 quarters, and then the roof caved in on them. Arkansas can score. Arkansas can move the ball. Taylon Green's playing okay, but here's the one thing that has not changed for Arkansas since they fired Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino took over, and that's the defense still can't get stops when it matters. And that continues to be the case here for Arkansas. I'm going to take Mississippi State, too. My one fear is they're off that brutal loss to Texas. Can they get off the mat? It's more so I don't trust Arkansas laying points, especially that defense. So give me Mississippi State here and the over. C-Mac, what do you think?
I know. How do you even take Arkansas at home, just because of the defense?
I'm not.
This seems like a field goal game.
Yeah,
it seems like a back and forth. field goal game. It's over. And I have to say, Mississippi State, I know they kind of looked horrible there, blew it, as we talked about, with their prevent defense and losing the game to Texas. I think the defense has been a lot better all year. I mean, like, even in some of the losses that they've had. I mean, from how horrible they were last year, this Mississippi State team. I mean, they're still 8-2 ATS. Our last 10. Yeah, I like Mississippi State. This seems like it's going to come down to the wire here. Maybe you're right. This total is high. Like Arkansas is just, back and forth, back and forth. Is this the over play of the week?
For me, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. I like it as well. Now, this game I added to the games list this week because it's actually a big one going on in the AAC, Navy and North Texas. It's a pretty big conference game here. We've got North Texas 6-point home favorites in this one. The total sitting at, it looks like 64.5. 5-0 in the conference, Navy, 3-1 North Texas. All of a sudden, if North Texas wins, they're 4-1 in the conference, and they go up to second, and only half game behind Navy, who would fall to 5-1. So this is a huge opportunity for North Texas to stay in the hunt for the AAC conference championship going into this game. Navy undefeated. Navy's been great, obviously, throughout the season. Although we can look back at their schedule and say, you know what? VMI, UAB, Tulsa, Rice, Air Force, Temple, Florida Atlantic. My gosh, that is as weak as it gets from a strength of schedule standpoint for Navy. This will be their biggest test. Whereas North Texas, you look at who they've played. Washington State, Army, South Alabama, South Florida, UTSA is pretty solid. They've had a much tougher schedule so far, North Texas. So when you look at this Navy team, it's going to, and their defense is still giving up 31, 31, 32 the last 3 games versus Air Force, Temple, and Florida Atlantic. And now they're going to get tested here by Drew Mestamaker, this very, very dynamic North Texas offense. And North Texas can run the ball against you. They can throw the ball against you, especially the passing game is what is really, really strong. And Navy's secondary, Navy rarely has a good secondary. You can throw.
They're bad again.
Yeah, and so North Texas has probably got a pretty strong pathway to points here in this game at home versus Navy. But can Navy respond and move the football against North Texas? I think so. North Texas.
They can't stop the run. This is the over. This is the over for me.
I agree with
you.
It's a
little high.
1,000%. I lean Navy, but I don't love the strength of schedule disparity. I don't. And the couple times I've faded North Texas, I've had my head caved in. Like that UTSA game. What a horrible bet that was. I took North Texas coming off the loss to South Florida, and they got destroyed, UTSA, 55-17. They're going to want to make amends for losing to South Florida at home. Now, I will say this, Navy beat them 2 years ago, but different teams since then. And I like Blake Horvath. I like this Navy option offense, the way they can run it. But like I said, I think North Texas in that passing game is going to throw on Navy with great success because Navy can't stop the pass. And I think Navy is going to run it on North Texas because they can't stop the run. So, yeah, over for me as well. CMAC, Navy, North Texas.
Yeah. I just think you stick to that here in this game. There's both teams, top offenses, bad defenses. North Texas defense a little bit better because it just has been decent against the pass.
Yeah.
There's but other than that, they've get gashed on the ground almost 200 yards a game. So Navy should have no problem here. And North Texas, should easily be able to get up and down against Navy throwing the ball. So I just stick to the over here.
All right. Yeah, Blake Horvath, they do throw it a little bit more than they have in the past. That's a good point by Myron. That's true.
They do.
Blake Horvath can do it. He can burn you with the pass if you play everybody up to the line of scrimmage to stop the run. He can burn you with the ball, with the deep ball now. Yep.
Yeah, and that's perfect. They can just do that one, a couple times a game if it works out.
Right. Yep.
But I mean, they average 158 yards. North Texas, their defense on who they played on both teams, these teams have played. Even though North Texas has been a little bit better, only giving up 170 yards a game. So there.
All right, Oklahoma State and Kansas. We've got Kansas 24.5-point home favorites, 57.5 the total. Oklahoma State is that bad, folks. And don't be fooled by the fact they covered against Texas Tech. If Will Hammond doesn't get injured, in that game. That ends up being like 55-0 for Texas Tech last week. No, I'm serious. That's the only reason Oklahoma State covered. They said, well, we got our quarterback injured now. Let's just get this game over with. Be conservative, run the football a lot, because that game was 28-0 at halftime, 42-0 after the third quarter.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a lot lately. It worked for the first half last week too. And I know Kansas has lost 2 in a row in blowout fashion to Texas Tech and Kansas State, but this sure feels like a get-right spot against a dead as a doornail Oklahoma State team. Kansas first half team total. Whatever it is, sign me up for it. Kansas State first half. You can go full game team total over as well, but I like the first half.
First half's just cashing.
Yeah, because the first half,
I've done it all year.
Yeah, then they take the air out of the football and just bleed the clock.
Every week.
Game. Yeah.
And this seems like a perfect spot for Kansas. They still have a good offense.
Yeah.
Early, first half team total. You're right. And by the way, I mean, as long as you got it inside, because I looked day of game, and that's all the books know so much. People are pounding it probably, because I have been every week. Texas Tech went to 28.5. And I was like, there's the bridge, the book is a perfect. And what they scored, 28. Yeah. But people, you could have got it under that, all week long. But I just meant I remember looking right before the game that had moved to 28.5. So this should be under 3 touchdowns. That's what I've liked with this, the first half team total. It just seems like every team's gotten 3 touchdowns first half against Oklahoma State.
And you're going to need
this
24.
offense bounce back.
You're going to need 24.
It's over 21.
It's
the first half team total.
23.5. Yeah.
Yeah. It's starting to get a little rich. I think they could still get it.
Yeah.
But I really was like under the 3 touchdowns. I thought that has been a move.
All right. Next up, we've got USC and Nebraska. USC 7-point road favorites, 59.5 the total here in this game. Saturday night game in Lincoln. This is the first time in a long time I've considered Nebraska.
I'm on.
The reason for it is USC just cannot, for the life of themselves, cover games on these West Coast or East Coast, Midwest road trips in Big Ten play. They can't do it. They have not done it once under Lincoln Riley since they moved to the Big Ten. 0 against the spread in either a Midwest or East Coast Big Ten road game. They haven't covered one single point spread, USC, in the 2 years. So, yes, just by default, just with that alone, I'm leaning Nebraska. And I get it. Nebraska's got issues. Defense, hasn't been nearly as good. Raiola's inconsistent. I get all that. But now we're in a different point spread role. After all these weeks where they've been favorites and they've been terrible favorites. They're 0-5 ATS as favorites. Their last 5 games as Power 4 conference teams, 0-5. 0-4 ATS against Big Ten as a Big Ten favorite the last 4 games. There's a different point spread role. And again, USC, do I need to rhyme it out for you? They lose at Notre Dame. They did cover actually there, but that's as an underdog. I'm talking about 0 for ATS as favorites in the Big Ten road games in the East Coast or Midwest. At Illinois, favorites on the road, lost outright. At Purdue, 20.5-point road favorites. They won, but they didn't cover. Last year, we talked about this multiple times with USC making these road trips in the Big Ten to either the East Coast or the Midwest. At Michigan, they lost outright last year. At Minnesota, they lost outright last year. At Maryland, and Maryland wasn't even all that great last year, and they lost outright at Maryland, USC last year. So, yeah, Nebraska or pass for me. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I love going against Nebraska and winning every week, and then now they get them here
toward.
I know.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a hook here.
Yep.
That was big last week to have the hook.
Now this is a bye week for USC following the Notre Dame loss. Did they adjust to the time zone change and the trip differently now because of that? I'm not convinced. I'm not sold on that.
I don't know. I mean, we have the best passing offense, basically, college football against the best defense, Nebraska's been against the past. And SC's still going to have success, I think, in this game. But maybe it's not as high scoring.
They can still run it pretty good, USC. But is their top running back going to be available? Because he got banged up there in the Notre Dame game last. Wayman Jordan, is he going to play? I don't think so. He's out.
And I think the biggest is I don't love this. I don't love Nebraska, but I think they'll be able, as long as there's not bad mistakes by bad interception stuff like that. They could throw the ball here on SC. So, yep, Nebraska. I'd like to have a hook here in this game.
I lean over too. I mean, the thing with Nebraska is I thought they would crank up the tempo and play a lot faster with Dana Holgerson as the offensive coordinator. Hasn't always been that way for the Nebraska offense this year. But I do lean over in that game as well. But yeah, for the first time in ages, I am looking possibly toward taking Matt Rule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers in that game. All right, we have just 2 games left to go. South Carolina and Ole Miss. We've got Ole Miss 12.5-point home favorites, 54.5 the total here in this game. We'll see how this one go. Obviously, what a win for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss at Oklahoma last week against what we thought was a pretty good defense. And Trinidad Chambliss, he's the man around Oxford, Mississippi right now. He just continues to play at a high level. Very impressive what we've seen from him at the quarterback spot for the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll see if he can maintain that strong level of play here in this game against South Carolina. South Carolina, I worry a little bit here where great effort against Alabama, made life very difficult for them. They lose it with the last minute touchdown there from Jeremy Bernard for 25 yards to give Alabama the lead after it was tied in the final 2 minutes. Just a tough loss there for Shane Beamer's crew when they really battled Alabama tooth and nail last week. What was funny is that Lenora Sellers, when they had a chance to gain separation in the fourth quarter, game on the line, move the football, couldn't do it. That's a concern. He had some good moments in that game, but game on the line, I need you to move the ball and win the game. He wasn't able to do it. So not coming out strong in the clutch there was Lenora Sellers in that game. So, tough potential hangover spot maybe for South Carolina. And I will say this, Ole Miss at South Carolina last year, 27-3. It was a beatdown over South Carolina. South Carolina, Ole Miss, I will say one thing about them. Double-digit road favorites can be a bit spotty, and also bigger favorites of more than a touchdown. We remember the Kentucky game on the road. They only won by 7 as 8.5-point favorites. 33-point favorites against Washington State. They only won by 3. In that game. Now, they did cover against Tulane. That's the one example of a time they did. But with coming off that huge win against Ole Miss, now they do play Citadel next week, so there is no look ahead. It's just a question of, do I want to lay this many points here with Ole Miss? If I were to play Ole Miss, I'd play the team total over. Do I trust South Carolina enough off the loss to Alabama on the road? Not so sure. So at the moment, probably a game I pass. C-Mac, how about you? South Carolina, Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, I like how at times they moved the ball. There was a nice spot for him, and Sellers was all right. It's just not good enough. I don't love this Ole Miss defense, but it just seems like, I don't know if South Carolina could get their team total in this game. Like, are they going to score over 3 touchdowns? They just got it at home against Bama, but they haven't been doing it really all year long. And they if they want to be in the game too, this has to go under. Like, that's the only way they can play. Like, so I was leaning under here in South Carolina team total under.
All right, leaning toward under South Carolina team total under as well. All right, our last game, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Wonder if they still call it that. But anyway, it's Georgia, Florida, annual game played in Jacksonville. We've got Georgia, 7.5-point favorites, 50.5 the total here in this one. For Florida, last time we saw them play, they escaped 23-21 with a win against Mississippi State. Billy Napier fired right after that. So this will be the first game for Florida post Billy Napier firing for this game against Georgia. So we'll see how they come out, how dialed in are the players. Following, at least that's nice is that they've had the bye week following the coaching change. They've had time to, the interim coaching staff to get the team, in the right frame of mind, get the preparation done for this game against Georgia. We'll see if that makes a difference. Meanwhile, you've got Georgia where, they pummeled Kentucky 35-14, but take that game out of the equation. It's life and death to beat Tennessee 44-41. They lost to Alabama 24-21. The Auburn game is a bit misleading, 20-10, because if Auburn gets that touchdown, ruled a touchdown where the football looked like it had crossed the goal line, it was going to make it 17-0 Auburn at the time. Instead, it stayed 10-0, and Georgia, the rest is history. They came back and they beat Auburn 20-10. If that one play is upheld and they call that a touchdown, that could have been a loss for Georgia. I don't know if they would have come back from down 17-0 in that game against Auburn. And then, of course, the Ole Miss game where, again, a slow start. Ole Miss was leading after the first quarter, leading at halftime, 21-20. And it was another great second half and especially fourth quarter for Ole Miss, for Georgia, who wore down the Ole Miss defense. They got tired. Gunnar Stockton, Nate Frazier on the ground. Obviously, the receivers, Zechariah Branch, Dylan Bell, Lawson Lucky, they all stepped up, making big plays for Georgia, and they just wore down a gassed-out Ole Miss defense late in that game and were able to come back and win 43-35. That was not an easy game. The point of all this is Georgia's got to win by almost double digits. If Florida is even the least bit inspired, they put the Napier shit behind them. They're ready to rock for this game with an opportunity to play an annual rival in the SEC East in Georgia. I don't know if I fully trust Georgia for 60 minutes because they have not played 60 minutes at any point in any of these games. There always seems to be that first quarter sluggish start, that first half where it's just...
I'm taking Florida first half here. Worst first half team in all of football.
Florida,
talk about good.
There you go. I think
Florida first half
approach. Yep.
I think, and the only game, Babena, was Kentucky 21-14, and I think they were 13. They just covered that first half. That was the only one. Other than that, they've just been so slow.
Better. How about you do first quarter and first half? I would consider that.
Yeah. I mean, they just seem just like they to get their shit together until after they get ripped at halftime.
Repeatedly, it's been a Tennessee game, Bama game, Auburn game. I mean, every game pretty much. Ole Miss, every big time game they've had these bad first quarters, slow first halves. I think you're right on there with the Florida early game. Yep.
I'm gonna be on them first half.
Yep.
That's it.
There we go. That's all that needs to be said. I think that's it's definitely better than full game because the one thing is, and Kirby seems content, right? He's not freaking out when his team has a rough start. He's used to it by now. And he knows his team has the mentality and the toughness to bat and resilience to battle, get better as the game goes on, and still find a way. And they've done that. Yep.
That's why I look at this too, because I mean, a lot better Georgia teams. They've kind of just whipped up on Florida. It seems like for a long time in these games.
Yep.
Remember that? For years and years and years.
Yep. So that is the one thing. You're right. Series history. I mean, Georgia, the last 4 years, they've won all four by double digits. Yep.
When's the last year Florida won?
November 2020.
20, okay. Yep. Yeah. They usually get to
7-1 Georgia straight up in the last 8 meetings. Yeah. And I think all but one of the 7 Georgia wins were by more than a touchdown. So, yeah, they've all been pretty lopsided. But this different year, and there is something to the slow starts for Georgia. It's happened over and over again for them. That Florida first quarter, Florida first half could be could be the best way to go. DJ Lagway is, of course, will be at quarterback here for Florida in this game. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I see it. The first half for Florida, in particular, is plus 4.5 here in this game with Georgia or Florida in the first half. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat: Myron Kidd, Trans Canada, FB Gotti, Jerry Davis, Daryl Turner, Ross Pitts. Like I said, hey, Alex B. Smith. Good to see my buddy from the Ice Guys in the chat, my longtime colleague, one of my great friends, of course, in the business. Alex, good to see you.
Yes, watch the Ice Guys. Watch the show.
No doubt. Robert Carlson, who also is an Ice Guys viewer. Nuke Worker, good to see Nuke in the house. Coffee, breakfast, herbs picks. We thank you. Ian Shaber. Like I said, everyone, Chosen One. We thank all of you guys. Sports Money, of course, in Mike earlier in the chat. Jorge Herrera, Nut Flush. Good to see Nut Flush in the chat. Andrew G. everyone. Appreciate Al Cervic, everyone. Yep, good stuff. AJ Stogstill, thank you to everyone once again for joining us on this edition of the show. Remember, we're on Wednesday this week and Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, members only editions of the Hitting the Book show. So hit that join button and become a member.
Become a member. Members only. The jacket.
VIP Club.
I'm going to bring it back. Members only jackets. Hitting the Books. Actually, I should get those. But shout out to everyone that get it. I think we give great looks on all these games, all the small games we go over, a lot of them. I mean, what we like. There's even more upsets in the MAC. My Ball State, lost the man, but all those other ones, whew, MAC is dogs. Take them. So I wasn't too pissed off. They didn't score, but there was a lot of upsets, a lot of tight games, and we go over all those small ones on Friday, and NFL, all that shit. So join, become a member Wednesdays and Fridays. We appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button and shout out to all in the green, everyone in green. AJ, my guy.
Good stuff. You know what? Just before we wrap it up, just to give you a little taste of what we do for the members only show, we do have an NFL Monday Night Football game, and we do have World Series Game 3 tonight between the Blue Jays and Dodgers. C-Mac, do you have any opinions on either of those two games?
No, you can go ahead.
I like the over in the Blue Jay Dodger game. I think with Glasnow, he does have some walk concerns at times. It's a patient lineup. Get on base, draw some walks. I don't think Glasnow is going to shut down the Blue Jays the way Yamamoto did. I could see the Blue Jays maybe getting some runs, but I also think the Dodgers are going to make the home run ball can always be a bit of an issue with Max Scherzer. And I could see the Dodgers maybe having some success taking them.
I think they get to him.
You're at Dodger Stadium. So I don't like the side. I mean, the Dodgers are just too expensive. I would not take them at this price. I don't know if I trust the Blue Jays enough. I don't trust Scherzer enough to take the Blue Jays. But I like the over. Over 8.5. I think it can get over the total here.
I think so too, maybe. I mean, I like the Dodgers team total.
Yeah.
4.5. It's a little juice, like minus 120, but I think they get to Scherzer.
Yeah, and I have a small bet on Kansas City first half team total against Washington, for just first half, to maybe pounce on them there.
I am off. I gotta run through the props in that game.
Yeah.
If I have one, I'll shoot it. I'll post it out.
There we go. Good stuff.
Monday
That's a wrap, everybody. We'll see you Wednesday for the members only edition of the show. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. This has been the College Football Hitting the Book show. We'll see you on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, members only edition of the Hitting the Book show. And, of course, we are back next Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, with another edition of the College Football Hitting the Book show. Until then, class dismissed.